Who is this? Is this your mom?
Kinda. My species reproduces by mitosis. So that used to be my mom, but now it's me and my brother. He got the looks, obviously.
Yaphet,
Yeah.
do you want to kiss me?
What? Yeah, totally.
I'd like that a lot.
What made you change your mind?
Don't worry about that. So, where do we go from here?
Want to go for a swim?
Ah,
That was supreme.
and scene.
Yep, I'll pay that.
Just love
Tell us why you picked that quote.
Because I knew Chaos would like it.
You know me.
This is the Boom Chicka Wow Wow episode of Orville, so I had to pick that one.
Oh, hello, and welcome to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. I am your host, Robert.
And I am your host, Captain Chaos.
And I'm Mad Scientist Ray down here in Australia.
And if you heard that voice, yes, we have her back. And we're so glad that she is here because it's one of my favorite podcasts. And if you have not heard Madison on the Air, what's wrong with you? So we are a long format. We won't be mad. You can pause us right now, go search for Madison on the Air, and then come back to us. We'll be waiting.
Or you can scan the QR code because we have one on the screen if you're watching YouTube.
Nice. Welcome back, Chrissy. Hello.
Hi, thank you guys for having me back.
No problem. We're so glad that you're here, and hopefully we can get a lot more episodes with you in the future. So, for all our audience there who have not experienced what your show is about, can you tell them a little bit about what your show is about and where they can find it?
So mine is an audio drama, so it's fiction. I take old-time radio shows from the 1930s through the 50s, the actual scripts from the original series, and I adapt them with a modern-day girl, Madison Standish, and she goes along for the adventures with all the different noir detectives and superheroes, westerns, sci-fi, of course, all the good stuff. And it's just kind of a satire comedy to make fun of some of the tropes of the era, but also to kind of call attention to some of the modern day tropes as well. So it's just a lot of fun. It's just fun.
We've already had a bit of fun with you with one of those, haven't we?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
War of the Worlds.
And let me tell everybody, she's the best time traveler makeup artist barista there ever is.
Yes.
Wasn't there a hairdresser in there?
Yes, Madison is a makeup influencer who got zapped through we do not know what freaky deaky science stuff is all we can say. And she goes back into these shows and she just bounces around a little kind of Quantum Leap-esque, except that she's always herself. She's not other characters, but she just keeps popping up in these other shows and kind of takes it with stride. And okay, let's see what are we doing this week?
So in other words, it's very scientific-y.
Yes.
Scientific, very scientific.
It's a lot of science in my show.
With the side of wibbly wobbly science,
yes.
time travel.
Yeah, if you like MST3K, I consider it MST3K if they were in the movies they riff. That's how I look at it.
Nice. And I, I don't know if you guys know. I mean, I am a fan. I don't know, Gio, Ray.
Robert and I are your groupies. We're just gonna confess ourselves here in front of everybody. Yeah.
So my two groupies.
I have to come.
I'm a lurker.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so
guys, what have you been watching?
I go first.
Okay, go.
Lower Decks. Okay, bye.
Yeah. You've come full circle.
Star Trek with my cool wife.
In addition to Lower Decks, which we're having so much fun with it. We're rewatching it since it got canceled. Rewatching it from the beginning, anyways. But I am watching also Kaiju number 8, and Oh my God, I hate the last episode. And not in a bad way. It's because they left me hanging.
Gotta love a good cliffhanger,
I
don't
had
you?
to wait for next week. So I had to actually, subscribe to what is it, Shonen Jump, to actually start reading the manga because I am that desperate to know what happened.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
I hate it.
Oh yeah, boy.
Oh
I'm
my
already like in manga chapter 45.
wow.
I'm in chapter 80 something.
Oh no, you're almost okay. You're almost current.
I'm almost caught up. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I gotta say though, I'm a Kikaru simp. She's the shit she's gone through.
She's too full of
I
herself.
mean, you haven't seen it all yet, but oh my God, the poor girl.
Yeah, don't tell me. I'm just
Well, I'm gonna go next, but I actually been watching Kaiju number 8 too. I've been watching 86. I actually watched before yesterday Star Wars Phantom Menace and Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Iron Man, and I've been playing some Gears of War too because there's a new Gears of War coming. And playing just to pump myself up about Star Wars. I don't know. I just come back to it once in a while, and I've been playing Star Wars Fallen Order because there's a new game too that is coming that is a sequel from it.
nice.
Geez, Chaos, how did you fit all that in around all your Mushiko Tensei reading?
Yeah.
Well, it's not like I can mention it here because it's not per se sci-fi, even though there's time traveling. If not, we will be only talking about Mushoku Tensei. I told you,
I know.
we need to make a separate podcast called Otaku Stench.
Oh my God. Naming conventions be damned. Oh dear. Well, not to be on the bandwagon, but Kaiju number 8 is probably the only sci-fi I've watched this week, other than the one we're about to talk about very shortly, because it's damn good. It is damn good. Reading the manga and watching the anime, so I highly recommend it.
I got my wife addicted to that. All I had to do is I just play the first episode. That's all I had to do.
My son's been saying, Daddy, let's watch some anime together. So I'm probably going to watch Kaiju number 8 again with him. So
Nice.
So you see what he thinks about all the big monsters.
Oh, Robert did something heroic this week because he actually initiated his grandson in the Force.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I felt so proud. I hope that he turns out to be a great Sith Lord.
Hey, there's a poll about are you a Jedi or are you a Sith on our Discord?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are the Sith winning?
I started that.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Chrissy. I mean, this is where this show goes.
What about you, Chrissy? You watched any other science fiction besides what we're about to talk about?
Well, I've been getting into the Roku channel with all their free stuff, and they've got the first season of Bionic Woman, y'all.
Oh, wow. Blast from the past.
Wow, is it misogynistic? More than I even could have imagined.
Isn't it funny how you don't remember those things?
No, and she's like this super strong, amazing, woman now with all these, the bionics. And like Oscar is hanging on her and he keeps calling her a little girl and we can't send you there because you're just a woman. And I'm like, she can break you in two, dude. What the heck?
Clearly a male writer.
It's a little rough, especially when they keep bringing in, Steve Austin to, for little guest spots. And it's just like, oh, yeah, he could do anything because he's an astronaut, but she's just a school teacher.
It's actually ironic seeing Steve Austin as an astronaut because he's cool, but he's not a bright looking guy. Popping beards.
Well, and then I was looking at some of the toys of the time, and of course, you got all the really cool stuff for the $6 Million Man, but Bionic Woman has Barbie equivalent, the Bionic Woman's head that you could style her hair and makeup. Like, what the heck is that? But it's still, it's very exciting to watch because it's just such a flashback. Such a flashback.
Yeah.
What about did they have the flares and the big hair and the
well, it's late 70s, so it's more like your feathered hair kind of They were more in the all natural
The
look. I don't
big, the
know.
big collars.
The Jumbo
Yeah.
Johnny
The
Puffy heavy metal
polyester
hair.
for everyone. Yes.
I was under 10 years old,
I
and
hated polyester with a passion.
I was in awe.
I had a Steve Austin doll
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and you could look through the back of his head because he had a hole in the back of his head, and it had a little magnifier in it, so it was like looking into the distance.
It's so funny you mentioned that. I had that same. I had that too. I remember that. Oh my god,
Yeah.
it was so cool. I mean,
And who doesn't try to do those sound effects every time you were running or something, right?
And you go in slow motion, everybody's like, why are you going so slow? Shouldn't you be fast?
I think when they did the 80s, the made-for-TV movie where it was their kids who also had bionics for some reason, they did speed up the film. So they made them run like the Flash or something like that. Rather than this, because it was kind of funny because it was like the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman were obsolete now because their kids had like 80s electronics.
I used to like Steve Austin, but really my favorite one of them all was The Undertaker.
Oh my god.
Wrong genre.
Moving on.
Moving on. Is this a good place to move in and press the right button this time?
Yeah, well, I said moving on.
It's the right move to move on right now.
But
Move it.
Here we go. We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
And if you are new to the show, this is a segment where we actually feature the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi. And the reason why we feature it is because we are all sci-fi lovers here, and we want to join the community under one umbrella. So if you are a creator or if you are a fan of anything sci-fi, you probably have that one thing that you love, that you're very passionate about. For a creator, is basically your baby. You want to share with the world. And as a fan, you not only want to share your passion for that sci-fi thing that you love so much, but you like to find like-minded individuals that you can have conversations with. And this is it. So all you would have to do is whenever you do your post in any social media, all you got to do is just add the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi and share it with everybody else. Now, I know I repeat this in every episode, but it is one of the coolest things, and I find this so cool, is that because you are talking about that one thing that you love so much, people that read your post, they see and they actually feel your passion. And it could be something that they have never really heard of. Maybe it's an obscure sci-fi that you love so much. Or in the case of the mainstream sci-fi, it could be someone that either hated or for some reason never watched it, or someone that doesn't want to give it the light of day. But because they're listening, they're feeling your passion on your post. I've seen where people would actually are curious enough, they go and watch that one thing that you are passionate about, and they become fans. And now you have someone else to join in the conversation. And that's one of the coolest things that I've seen happen in this hashtag. And it's amazing. Not only that, but you're joining a community. You're joining, and don't get me wrong, I do belong to other communities. Example, Star Wars, Star Trek communities. You can find those everywhere.
And now the Babylon 5 community.
Babylon 5 community, yes. Which I'm
Long enough.
newly initiated. But it is so cool to be able to talk sci-fi to a wider range of sci-fi lovers. and it doesn't just end in TV shows and movies. It spans to games. It expands to books. Anything that is sci-fi related, and it's so amazing to be able to have those conversations about so many different multiple topics within the sci-fi genre. Um, so I invite you guys to, you know, with your post, just follow the hashtag this is sci-fi, and add to your post this is sci-fi hashtag, and you know, reach a wider audience, be exposed to other people that otherwise might not know that one thing that you either created or that thing that you loved so much. We also have different venues that you can,
Oh yeah.
participate in the conversation. You could actually call the hotline. We do have a hotline. Is 1-305-563-6334. You can call and, hurry up and leave your hate mail for Captain Chaos. He's waiting for those.
Oh,
Uh,
you can leave any questions too. I know it all, so this is the right place to call.
so if you have any message about any previous episode, about any episodes that you would like us to do, you have any message for any of the hosts, you can call, leave your message, and your message might be played in future episodes. We also have our Discord. Yep. We have very involved Discord. So I invite you guys to join in. If you don't find the channel for that one thing you love so much within sci-fi, I would find it very difficult to think. But if in fact is not there, just reach out and we can definitely make it a thing. But there's so many channels for any sci-fi related topic that you want to talk about. So just join us, and we have various chats within various social media channels. If you would like to be involved as well, just reach out to us, and we can invite you over to any of those chats where you can talk sci-fi. So, anything else that you guys would like to add to your experience of the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi?
Oh, I mean, I've been all over the place with this is sci-fi hashtag this week. I used it actually to find new followers for us on Twitter X, and like share like-minded individual about IPs that we love, like new games that are coming, franchises that we all love. Uh, I think it's a great place where everybody meets without silos and no gatekeeping, and that's a beautiful thing, when you can put that out the door, anybody can be a good friend.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. It's like putting down the walls that kept us really from finding, instead of what's the difference between us, what we have in common. I
Yes.
think that the world will be a better place if we all do that, to be honest.
Awesome.
So, and the way that I got there is, I mean, just put an extra hashtag. I mean, people put hashtags for so many stupid things. Put it for something nice, like this is sci-fi hashtag. It's awesome. So, and that's how I usually get new friends about. When you find something new and you have a fever about it, and you're binge watching or just doing all over the place. That's how I go with this is sci-fi, and I always have a great time with this. So it's like you won't regret, or money back guarantee. Although I know it doesn't cost you anything, so money back guarantee.
It's more than what you pay for it.
It's like if you're looking for sci-fi and you put this is sci-fi, you're gonna feel like something's gonna say, but wait, there's more.
Do I get steak knives? Do I get steak? You don't get steak knives, but you do get a website. There is a thisissci-fi.com website. We should mention that.
And which is a great place if you are a content creator, or you like sci-fi and things that are a niche in sci-fi. This is a great place to go. Actually, it's a network. Is an idea that our boss Robert, the Admiral Happy Ending, has created, and it has become a great movement. And we invite everybody to go and give it a look and check it out. It's super awesome, actually.
Yeah.
To get there, just type in "this is sci-fi," one word, no dash between the sign, the .net.
Or you can scan the QR code if you're listening to, or if you're watching our show on YouTube. The whole idea is trying to to come up with, and I know network might not be the right word for it, but I'm trying to get a community of sci-fi creators together, and it is at its infancy right now. So I welcome everybody to come in and let's discuss ideas. Let's see how we can all join up and help each other and create this thing where we just have kind of like a circle of sci-fi creators. So
Mhm.
this is sci-fi.net. Okay. So, should we go to the next segment?
Yeah, we should. And for this episode, I'm going to start with our Instagram's followers. Actually, we got Heather, and her tag is HLM_FL. Always from the beginning, giving us love and sharing and enjoying what we do. We love to see that you actually get. I can steal a laughter out of you. It's awesome. That's everything we do it for. Also, Gary.bloom, which is actually a writer. Eventually, we'll have you here, man. Go and join us in Discord for sure. He's always participating and interacting with us and engaging in our posts. He's the author of Antares Ascendant
We
and
had him.
Olympus Union.
We had him on an
Uh,
episode.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
and you can find, actually, I put, if I'm not mistaken, I put his link on our description, so our listener can go and find him, because I mean, sci-fi is all amazing, and what's all about is about discovering something new.
Yes.
And when you get everything with a touch of originality, there's nothing, not better feeling. It's like I was saying, I know that this will go and this is sci-fi, but it goes, I mean, we'll talk all around sci-fi. When you get somebody initiated, like the crime that Ray has committed of making obsessive otaku out of me, and he probably must feel like the cult leader that got some fanatic really into his religion. So now I am just sweating and breathing anime.
So much so that you go back to the source material. Now that made me proud.
You shouldn't be proud of this, Ray. You shouldn't be proud. I don't know. I didn't think that I would have read 19 volumes in less than 3 weeks. I'm surprised on myself.
You read it faster than I did. I'm impressed.
Hey, Chaos, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for what you're about to see, and Mushoku Tensei too. I already tried to prepare mentally, Ray. I told her, like, it's gonna get rough, but it's gonna be over soon, and it's gonna get good then.
So I'll just say that the animation in the big battle is impressive.
Oh yes, it was superb.
So it's not
For
rubber
sure.
safe, right? I need a box of Kleenex.
No, it's not that it's blood; it's more the emotional baggage that comes with it.
Box of Kleenex.
But
You
yeah.
should have one anyway,
For that-
Robert. We never
for
know
that
when you're going to
episode.
burst into tears.
Yeah, for that episode, definitely suggested. But you'll make it through. You'll make it through, man. I mean, you like aliens, so you're an enigma. You're an enigma for sure. Next, our Twitter community. I want to give a special hello and a big hug to Ro from the Scarif podcast, the Real Skullbot podcast. Go and check him out. He's awesome. I always love listening to him. Also, Vader Rapina. You can find it also in Twitter, X. Tag is Vader Rapina with double P. He's also awesome dude too. Always with these two, I'm always going back and forth about our Star Wars love, and I just find out that Ro is a Sith. So, welcome to the brotherhood. and on Discord, I want to say a special thank you to truetankerjamescvercko. That's our friend TT. I play actually D&D with him. Awesome dude. And Jamie, we actually recently had him. He's amazing. I love his show. And he's such a wonderful person just to converse with too. And you can find him. You actually should go and type on your web browser Faith 5 from Fans. Faith 5 from Fans. He's awesome. I love listening to his podcast. It makes me feel just like we feel when we're talking here. He actually fit in just perfectly when he came in on the episode that we recorded with him, and it was a wonderful time.
Yeah, the previous episode, 7 days.
Mm-hmm. And before we move to our next segment, which is also very important, but I want to remember you all that your like, share, and subscribe makes the whole difference for us. We hope that you enjoy what we do. So go and hit that like and subscribe, and we'll move to the next segment.
Okay, so the next segment, I don't know if we're ready for this next segment.
Android thingy little lady. Android
You
thing, you
can't
little lady.
handle the next segment.
The Alita Army News.
Just before we get into that, I just wanted to share this with you. This is how I feel we're going today so far.
Rails, we don't need rails.
Where we're going, we don't need rails. That's actually not a bad quote for the final Back to the Future movie at the very end.
Yeah.
That's true.
With the flying
Well,
train.
that train didn't look very steampunkish though.
No, it didn't. It didn't. So, where are my show notes going? Oh my God. Christy, I don't know if you're aware, but everybody here, all the regulars, are part of the Alita Army. Have you heard of the movie Alita Battle Angel?
I can't say that I have. No.
My goodness, we'll have to educate you.
Well, imagine a cooler version that doesn't objectify the main heroine of Bionic Woman. Actually,
Yeah.
right, Ray?
Exactly.
My God,
Yes.
love
If
that.
you want to see the successful version of Bionic Woman, you're gonna love it.
I love that.
So, strong female characters like Ripley, Sarah Connor, and Alita Battle Angel. She fits right into that mold. So it's a dystopian future cyberpunk. Basically, lots of cyborgs running around movie. And it's based on a manga, which has been going for over 30 years, which is my favorite manga and my favorite movie. So I could prattle on about it for hours, but I don't want to overtake the topic because we'll be off the rails again in no time. But we're all members of the Elite Army. Basically, to be a member of the Elite Army, you just have to have watched the movie and liked it so much you'd like to see a sequel, and it's a pretty low bar for entry. So that's all it takes. But over on the Alita Army YouTube channel, Alita Army is the name of the fandom. We have a regular Radio Chaos live stream on. It's 9 p.m. GMT, which of course they don't have at the moment because it's BST over in England.
No,
but,
it's called EMP, and it's an electromagnetic pulse, right?
Okay. He's
and there goes the rails.
Yeah,
I had to.
You did, didn't you? But anyway, so we're up to episode 218. So it's been going for a few years now. And the topic was merch me up, show us your Alita merch. So for the uninitiated, merch means goodies related to that IP. Of course, every IP has their posters and their might have something with printed on a glass or some food related to the movie or little figures, models, bigger things. Alita Battle Angel has some really cool stuff. In the thousands of dollars range. That's in the tens of dollars range, but there's some of it in the thousands of dollars range. Let me just pull one up really quickly. This hasn't come out yet. It's coming out at the end of the year. But geez, I'm dying to get it. Come on, load. Why aren't you loading?
Because it's thousands of dollar range.
Yeah, I can't afford it.
That happens to you for putting down my figurine, man.
Oh, nice.
I didn't put down your figurine. Your figurine's awesome. I have that one.
You said tens of dollars range.
Well, it is. I bought one for $10 at a car boot sale about a year ago.
That's awesome, though.
Nice.
I love
it. This is Galley's the name of the character in Japan, but when the manga was translated, they changed the name to Alita, and that's what she's known as.
I like the heavy metal version of the name, Angel of Death.
Yeah, she's cool. How the hell do I get
don't piss her off. That's all I can say.
I mean, if you kick her off, you kind of broke your toe because that body is full armor.
Pretty much. But yeah, she's playing a sport called motorball, which is basically cyborgs trying to kill each other while throwing a ball around on a NASCAR track.
Yeah, it's like NASCAR. NASCAR full hardcore wrestling on rollerblades with nitros.
Yeah,
and rockets.
pretty much.
It doesn't get better than that.
It's pretty wild, but yeah, that website's not working quite properly today. But as you can see, the price tag there is that's in Australian dollars, or the Pacific peso, as we like to call it. Oh,
that's all right. I can admire from the image. She's beautiful. It doesn't cost anything to dream, right?
That's right. I would like this. I have the money. I have the money in my bank account right now. I could buy it, but then I'd probably
What size? What size is it? Is it big at least? Or are you paying $2,000 for something this size?
It's 1/4 scale. So a liter is 140 centimeters tall, so it's 1/4 of that.
So I will venture to say
we're looking at 60,
1 foot tall.
60 centimeters, which is 60 centimeters would be 2 feet.
Yeah,
2 feet tall.
So.
Nice. That's big.
It's not small.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's like merch I would like but don't have. But people were showing off their merch. You can see. Let's lean this way or that way. Mine's all in this cabinet behind me here. So we were showing all this off. And
having one of those behind you on a podcast is called memorabilia flex.
I'm going to put it somewhere. I mean, I used to have all sorts of crap in there that was completely pointless. So at least now it looks a bit interesting.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was a really interesting episode. It's now available as a recording on the Elite Army channel on YouTube. You can go and check that out and see all sorts of people from around the world, because we have people from the UK and the US. You guys know Creaky from the Elite Army. Creaky. He's got a Kansas bar sign that he had a guy make for him, and it's probably about 60% of the full size sign, and it's all lit up and everything. It's in his bar.
Uncle Creed has every man's dream man cave. He does.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yes.
Nice. But, you know, when you get to 75, you should be allowed to whatever the hell you want.
You pay the price already.
He's a 75-year-old power lifter.
If you didn't make it to Salem by that, you should at least get that joy, right?
And he's the US champion in his age group.
Nice.
He is.
I want to be.
If I'm gonna have problems, I will make it my meat shield. I will be like, no, you gotta pass through him first.
I'm really hopeless with American measurements, but he's benching 130 kilos, which is more than me.
Wow. Yeah, it's a blessing to get to that age and be able to, to have that shape. It's a blessing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's been happening in the Elite Army recently. No sign of a sequel as yet, but we keep pressing Disney for the opportunity to go to the cinema again and watch something good, because they haven't been doing too well recently.
Without them scaring Guillermo del Toro and James Cameron, right? Because it would be a disaster. Like, imagine if they change or they scare away Guillermo del Toro and Cameron, then it's gonna be a very terrific idea, not knowing if it's gonna be good or not. We know that the formula works perfect with them. We don't want to change that. Make a note, Disney.
Please. And yes, bring part 2, please, already this year. Come on.
You're not going to get it that quick, dude.
Or make a TV show.
Take a couple of years to put together.
Yeah, TV show. Give us 10 seasons, 20 episodes each. There you go.
I'll be on board.
You hit the spot with Ray Robert. You gotta be like in honeymoon bromance with him for the next week now.
If you don't know, we're Alita Simps. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When did the movie actually come out? When was that?
2019.
Oh,
Valentine's Day 2019.
Yeah, I remember what we were talking about when you think that it's gonna continue, but you don't know if it's really gonna be forgotten in time. This is one of those hopeful
Well, it's
things.
been such a different world in Hollywood since COVID and then the
Yeah.
strikes last year. It's going to take a while for everything to come back around.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is it was the last movie released by 20th Century Fox before they were absorbed by the macrophage, which is Disney.
Oh, then they
So,
definitely probably kicked that property out.
well, I'd say that they want to stick all their virtue signaling into it, and Cameron refuses. But I mean, Cameron's the only guy who's made them any money in the last couple of years, so they should listen to him.
Yeah.
True.
Like, really?
Nice.
But anyway, maybe we should talk about a future where things are going a little bit better than they are right now. What sort of future can you imagine? Well, you don't have to imagine. You can just watch the Orville.
Yeah.
Which is what we're going to talk about today.
But I have a question, right?
Oh, God. You always have questions.
I
Right?
have a question.
No more Star Trek questions, Robert. No more Star Trek questions.
Well, the Orville is Star Trek. Come on.
It's practically Star Trek. In fact, you know what? I think the Orville is more like the front end of Lower Decks than Star Trek is.
Yes.
They match better, I swear.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing about Lower Decks and the Orville is you don't have to be a hardcore fan that it has to be canon and stuff. You can binge watch or start watching, and you will find yourself just going to the next and the next and the next because it's so good. And I mean, even in Star Trek, because I've watched all the movies and I've watched some episodes sporadically, and that's one of the things that I do like about those franchise is you can pick any episode, and it's not like you're gonna be left with a lot of lagoons about why is that. You can enjoy them in its entirety, episode by episode. That's a beautiful thing about it.
It helps that you know the characters because it gives you a few more hints into why they're doing what they're doing and how important it is to each character. But yeah, I mean, I have watched the first two seasons previously, and going back and watching this one on its own, I'm going, oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
We gotta admit that McFarlane is like a genius of comedy of his era.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. I agree.
But he was very smart in picking the formula of the original series in TNG and sticking with it. I mean, showrunners these days, they always feel like they've got to come up with something new and try and blow expectations out of the water and be different. But there's something to be said for the comfortableness of the method that Star Trek has used from the 60s to the 90s. And it's just a comfortable thing. You can sit down and you can watch it and you go, okay, by the end of this episode, I know that it's gonna be wrapped up. I know that they're gonna have worked out the problem and it's gonna look pretty bad, but then it's gonna be sorted out. And you can feel comfortable. There's an expectation which will be fulfilled for you.
Yes.
And it's really comfortable. It's nostalgic. And I think that's one of the core sort of points of this show that really draws people in.
Well, I would further go on to say that while a lot of the hour-long shows that are out at the same time that the Orville first premiered, everything is so dark and so heavy, and even franchises that used to be light now are dark and heavy. And it was so nice to see something that was still using a very big concept and a very, it's not a small show, it's not a little sitcom, but still can keep things lighter and still can keep you, like, there was drama. There's still drama in the story.
Yeah.
There's still something pulsing through, but to have so much of more of a bright lightness to it, it's a relief. It's like, oh, I don't have to feel like dread when I sit down to watch this show.
Yeah. Don't go further. I mean, this very episode we're talking about has some serious topics that are very low-key, funny played, but they're serious and they go home, really, when you look at it from an objective point of view, to be honest.
Well, that was Roddenberry's kick. He wanted to show a future positively. I mean, life never works out the way you expect. There's always problems.
You don't say.
I do say. But you can go too far and make it all cheesy and ridiculous, and people won't accept it. It's like the Matrix, the first version of the Matrix. Human beings wouldn't accept it because it was too good to be true.
Mhm.
And shows can be like that too. They can be too good to be true. They did that a bit in the 60s and the 50s, trying to make everything out to be so rosy that you wanted to vomit sugar.
I think that's why diabetes was born.
He probably was, but the whole point is you can't accept it because it's too good. It's too good to be true, and it doesn't relate to you. But I think McFarlane's found a really good sort of angle. He's taken Roddenberry's positive future and brought comedy in as the sort of dressing layer, and then under it's the drama.
Yeah,
and it just works.
Yeah,
and you can tell that it's written with love. It's a real homage to the original ideals of Roddenberry, which I really like.
and I just want to expand on that it's a beautiful thing because there's always this eagerness for innovation, and there are certain things that I've learned throughout times that they are all right how they were made to be what they were not meant to be perfected or changed throughout time. They are perfect the way they are, and they stand through time. And when people try to reinvent them, it's a risky move, and I would say statistically it doesn't go well most of the time.
Don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's what I call him. That's why I say that McFarlane's a genius, because he brings his own touch, but he doesn't really disrupt the canon of it.
Yeah. Going back to the question, it's a question that must be asked. It has to be asked. Do we have the plot?
Do we have the plot? There are people that love the Orville. So, I mean, look, we've done TV shows in the past, right? And I've looked for plots for a single episode, and it's like a paragraph, right?
Yeah.
Or half a paragraph.
Oh, yeah.
Or 2 lines. And that's all you get for one episode, because it's like, there's 100 episodes, so we're only going to write like a paragraph. No. That's not how the Orville fandom works. Every episode has a 6-act plot summary.
Oh, boy.
They love this. They love the
quality.
Can we summarize it though?
I'd love to, but I don't know if I can.
Oh my God.
It could be a bit tricky.
And that's the reason why I had to ask. I was looking at this, it's like, holy crap.
No, I pasted it in there. I thought, I'll get some comments out of this one, won't I? It's like a novella of the episode.
Hey, I grew up watching novellas. Don't talk bad about novellas, bro.
The best movies are made from novellas. Books are too long.
Man, I remember when a novella, somebody get a bitch slap, and they just roll on the staircase, get in front of the car with that slap, and get hit by a car. That's how novellas go.
You're talking about Hispanic soap operas.
Yes.
Yeah. A novella is a short novel. That's the English usage of the term.
You say novella to Spanish people, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, soap opera."
I'm in Los Angeles. I thought of what you thought of too. It's the Spanish soap opera.
My apologies. We don't get Spanish soap operas down here in Aussie land.
I am the father of your child.
You just need to watch one of those with the sound off and then put in your own dialogue, and that could be your entertainment for the whole afternoon.
I love doing that.
Nice.
MST 3000 version?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
I mean,
anyway,
we could, I don't know, we could skip it and kind of make our own if you want. I'm like,
this is huge, but I'll try to summarize.
Okay.
So the episode starts out where they're doing karaoke. Kelly's just done, Kelly Grayson, the second in command, has just done her song, and what's the guy's name?
Borders. Let me say
Borders is-
something. They did us wrong because Borders didn't get to sing My
I
Heart
know.
Goes On.
What's
Heart
up
Will
with
Go
that?
On by. They
I
did us
want to
wrong
hear
there.
Borders.
They did
Yeah,
us
me too.
wrong. Oh man.
But then he's about to sing from the theme from Titanic, and then they cut to
Yes.
Victor Garber. How perfect is that?
Yeah.
So, the
That's
admiral
like-
interrupts them. So the commander and first officer have to go to the briefing room. They're told about a couple of alien species, the Navarians and the Berudians, who are fighting over a planet, and they're getting close to all-out war. The ancient artifact was discovered about a year ago containing residual DNA. The Navarians and Berudians have agreed that the Planetary Union will study the artifact and look for DNA, and based on that, it will decide who gets to have the planet. Will it be the Navarians or the Berudians? The upshot is that they have to get a specialist on board to do that, and the specialist turns out to be Derulio, the guy who Grayson cheated on Mercer with. So for those who don't know the show, and if you don't know the show, you should probably watch it first because we spoil the crap out of everything, as you know. But Ed Mercer and Kelly Grayson were married, and then Kelly cheated on Ed with this
blue guy,
Derulio guy, with the Captain Blueskin. Yeah, he's one of the Blue Man Group, and he's pretty smooth actually. He's a real sort of smooth talker.
Did he touch you? Did his pheromone get to you or something?
I think he did. Yeah. No, he was very good at diffusing situations and turning them to his advantage. He was a real manipulator, I thought.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But he turns up on the ship. They didn't know that he was coming because they hadn't got a crew manifest until the last second, and then the whole thing sort of spirals downhill because Ed is very upset that this guy's come on board, and it's bringing back bad memories of his breakup with his now ex-wife, but second officer on his ship, which is one of those situations you really wouldn't want to be in.
I love that episode when he found out that she's going to be the second in command. Oh my god!
Wasn't it the pilot?
Yeah. It was the pilot.
It was the big comedy punch for the pilot, which really worked, I thought. Anyway, Derulio's on the ship. He bumps into Yaffet, who's the slime guy. And there's an interaction with them, which becomes important later. And then the ambassadors come on board from the Novidians and Berudians, and they're fighting like cats and dogs. And in fact, the captain, Ed Mercer, he does a pretty good job of diffusing the situation and getting them to the conference table, which I thought was pretty damn well done. Then Mercer is in the lift. There was a number of situations in the lift which was quite amusing. There was a whole sort of lift joke going on through the whole show.
Running joke for sure.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And considering how Muzak can be so inane, it was funny. I'm still laughing. So Derulio starts working on the artifact, and I'm summarizing here. So I'm just trying to find names. So Kelly goes down to the lab to tell Derulio that there's nothing between them, and it's just not going to happen. But he touches her on the arm, and she gets all flustered and gets a bit excited about him. Then they cut that scene, and we see Yaffet, who's basically a slime monster. I think I was reincarnated as a slime kind of thing. If you know that anime, he's one of the crew. He's in engineering. He's trying to woo Claire Finn, who's the chief medical officer, and she's having none of it. But then the Navarians and the Bruidians are waiting for waiting for Kelly to show up and for negotiations, and she doesn't show up. And Captain Mercer goes looking for her and finds her in her quarters, sleeping with the guy, Derulio. And she's like, I couldn't help myself. I've forgotten how sexy he was, and this must be love and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, this is ridiculous. That guy should never been allowed on my ship. I'm going to throw him out. So Mercer goes to he goes to the ambassadors and tries to work stuff out with them, but they're really annoyed with each other. And he says, look, you just got to give us a few more hours to work this DNA stuff out, and then you'll have your answer. And they're like, then he goes to confront Derulio, and I didn't actually see the point where Derulio touched the captain, but he must have
at the beginning when they're receiving the shuttle. He actually shakes hand with him.
Shook his hand. That's what
He shook his hand.
So the captain goes in to tell Derulio to pack his bags and get the hell off my ship, kind of deal, and ends up organizing to go on a date with him.
And I actually got a meme for when Yaphet actually was touched by him too. If you want to see it, which is this part.
Oh yeah, he tripped over Yaphet. Yeah.
So for all of you out there who are actually listening to our pod and you're not subscribing to our YouTube channel, what's wrong? Go and subscribe, because you're gonna miss all these little tiny bits that we do here. But can you describe for the listeners what we're looking at right now?
That is actually the line from the show.
I'm just gonna quote it. It says, just put it anywhere, dude. You don't have to find my G-spot. I'm not gonna say anything else. If you want to find out what it is about, go to our YouTube channel and catch the video.
Or watch the episode, because it was part of the episode.
There's no better there's no better way to bait viewers, Robert, than doing that. I'm not even trying to dissimulate it. That's how good the show is, man.
Yeah, so Alara Katan, who's actually my favorite character in the show, she's the chief of security, and she's like Grayson's confidant, Kelly Grayson's confidant, and Grayson's telling her about how she feels about Derulio and their sexual electricity and all this sort of stuff. Because Mercer is now got a thing for Derulio, he doesn't kick him off the ship. Derulio is saying that he's 36 hours away from concluding the study of the artifact. Turns out the artifact's a birthing bucket. So there's DNA in it from the placenta. So they're working out what species the DNA is from. Meanwhile, Dr. Finn, wearing a cocktail dress, shows up at Yaphet's quarters, and then we get that quote that we did at the start of the episode.
Yes.
So, they basically get it on. I'm
amazed at how many times they all get walked in on when they're having sex. Do they not have locks on these doors in the Orville?
They do, but when people don't answer, they override the lock.
Well, that doesn't seem like a good choice, because they've seen things they don't want to see.
Well, the captain can override the locks because he's the captain, and the security chief can do the same thing, and they both do it.
Should deeply regret that choice.
That's right. That is true.
I think that it was imperative though for the plot, because that was a very, very high point of the why behind the craziness going on. Hence the name of the episode, Cupid's Dagger.
Yeah, not Cupid's arrow. Cupid's dagger.
Oh yeah. But
So
I feel you, Chrissy. I feel you.
so while Dr. Finn is going for a swim in Yaffet,
Literally.
Mercer shows up for his date with Derulio and finds that Kelly Grayson is already there, and there's some serious he's mine, no he's mine, no he's mine going on. Yeah, it gets a bit basically the commander and the sub commander are both distracted by Derulio, and they're not looking after the ambassadors. The ambassadors are getting really testy at this stage, and they end up calling their fleets to the planet. They're going to duke it out in a big space battle. They work it out shortly after that something weird's going on. So, Katan's trying to work out what's going on. So she goes to Derulio and demands answers. He's not hiding any of this. She asks and he explains that his species releases pheromones that when they're in heat, which is once a year, and causes powerful sexual attraction behavior. And he's currently in heat. Grayson and Mercer absorbed the pheromones when they shook hands. Claire absorbed them from Yaffet, who passively carried them after bumping into Derulio in the corridor. So Mercer and Grayson meet the ambassadors who demand results from the artifact. They're threatening each other, and that's when they decide to call in their fleets. Katan takes Derulio to the sick bay. Analysis concludes there's no antidote to the pheromones. And then the two fleets rock up. Borders calls for the commanders. Mercer in his quarters with Derulio, while Grayson is crying in her quarters because Mercer offered a late night meal and Derulio took it up and Mercer missed out. So basically, he won the battle of the blue skin boy, which was kind of weird, but there you go. And Derulio is disturbed when Mercer is ignoring the impending bloodshed because he's like, I only want to be with you. I don't care about my job at the moment, blah, 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 which is unusual for Mercer. He wouldn't normally do this. Borders and Isaac decide to erect a barrier between the two fleets to try and buy some time. Derulio enters the bridge and suggests a solution to the conflict. They called on Yaffet,
the engineer,
who because he's part of the engineering group and he's very good at getting into the, I don't know if they call them Jeffries tubes, but in Star Trek they're Jeffries tubes. And he didn't show up.
He was in the doctor's tubes.
So that's right. That is correct. Doesn't say that here, but you are correct.
He was engineering something else.
That's right. He was engineering some more slime babies. But the security chief goes looking for him, and does the whole walk-in on Claire having a swim in Yaffet and enjoying the hell out of it. And it's one of those, God, why did I ever override that lock? I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, while all that's going on, Derulio enacts his plan, and the fleets begin fighting outside the ship because they didn't get the barrier up in time, and it looks pretty bad. Like the two fleets are going to decimate each other. And then the ambassadors for the Navarians and the Beridians enter the bridge hand in hand, calling their respective worlds and announce a ceasefire has been reached. And then we get to see a little bit of alien face sucking.
I have to agree. And for all of you other who are not actually watching our YouTube channel, can you repeat what that quote that we just put on the screen said?
They say that love conquers it all.
Yep, I would have to agree with that, definitely.
Now it's interesting that it ended up like this, because it comes full circle. Because apparently the DNA in the birthing vessel that was being studied turned out to be of a common ancestor between these two races, the Navarians and the Buridians. They are actually distantly related. They're like kissing cousins, quite literally.
Yep.
So
They're from Alabama.
that's right. I'm not entirely sure because I don't know their biology, but it looked a little BL to me.
Yeah, but it's like what I said earlier. It's one of those many tricky things that this show does, that it touch real social problems in a very creative way, because it just proves you right there that everything that there is between these two races, which are prominent from the same source, is just inherited hatred and prejudice, but it's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it only takes a few little chemicals to change your whole way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
I got one last statement before you move on, because there's one last bit that wraps up this entire show and shows the genius of the writing. Derulio's leaving the ship. He's finished his job and he's going back to the other ship that he was on. And Grayson asks him if he was in heat when she slept with him the year before, which broke up her marriage. And he pauses, then answers, maybe. And I thought that was really, really smart writing, in that it calls into question whether or not she was under duress when she caused the infidelity that broke up their marriage. So going from it's all her fault, she's a slut, blah 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 blah. Suddenly, she was under duress. It wasn't necessarily her choice. So, the whole premise of their breakup is now in question. So now they've got to deal with that and work that out. So it's very sort of complex on a personal level for the characters, and it wraps everything up really nicely and brings forth more things to consider. It's just really well written, this show.
Yeah. I was going to ask, and I'm still going to ask the first question that we always ask in this show. But before I do, I want to mention that I found myself playing Where's Waldo in this episode. Because as I
someone
that I know is in this show, and I'm like, okay, just to preface this, I watched this multiple times, so it's just recently, but it's like, okay, there she is, and I want to ask, did you guys end up doing the same, or is it just me?
Yep.
So, who is that?
I'm more like, I know her.
Shall I explain what the heck you're talking about?
Maybe, because I don't know. Maybe.
So I have worked for about 8 years now as a background actor in television and film. And that's just the pay the bills job. I'm not have any illusions that this is like, oh my God, I'm in acting now, and look at these shows I'm in. I'm an extra. I'm an extra. We call it background because we're not extra, we're not superfluous. We're important to the scene. But yeah, I did get to work at 3 different Orville episodes. And this particular one, the Cupid's Dagger, is the one I can be featured in. You can actually see me. I'm in the first scene with the karaoke. So they positioned me on the aisle. So there was like the hero side, what they call the hero side, which is all the lead actors. So that had Seth MacFarlane and crew. And then kind of the other side is miscellaneous crew people. And Seth MacFarlane had a vision for his show that he wanted people to, the viewers, to imagine the show, this ship was immense in size. So every time they shot in the ship, they wanted all new background actors. So you did not, from episode to episode, see the same actors. So you just think there's just tons and tons of crew. Oh, there I am. If you guys are on the YouTube, I'm in green. Apparently, I'm a medical officer. Big smile. I'm sitting there. I've got crazy Princess Leia hair. Like they went nuts with the weird buns all over my head. And I was positioned on the edge of a table, balanced with like one butt cheek on a table for a whole scene. That was fun. And said, big smiles, big smiles. You're enjoying yourself. You're having a great time. This is your time off. Everybody have fun. So that was me. And, you know, you got that scene goes by in like a flash, right? Because it's just a setup. It's the setup for the episode. But it took us a long time to shoot. You see the different angles, like the angle that you're showing right now on the YouTube is over her shoulder as she's singing to the audience. But then there was the turnaround where they would shoot through us and be showing her from the front. But also with a lot of these, especially in the main cast, a lot of the alien stuff, you see the most of the background. We're just kind of humans. We're not really any aliens per se. But the main cast were, and those costumes required, like through the union rules, they had to have breaks in between to rest. I don't have a photo here of the guy who was kind of the host of the night of the karaoke. He kind of had like a squid face where he had like tentacles that were all kind of on his shoulders, if you recall him.
Yes.
So that headpiece was actually electronic remote control puppetry. So just off of screen, there was a puppeteer who had the controls, like you would like a remote control little car or airplane, right? And he was working those to try to give them a natural look so that they're moving while he was speaking. The trouble is he's already wearing this giant headpiece that was very heavy, rubber and things like that, right? Adding all of these little gears inside, and this is all around his ears. The actor couldn't hear anything. So as soon as he got up there, he didn't know what his cues were. He couldn't hear any of the dialogue from the other actors because these little bzz, 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 bzz was going on right inside his head.
Wow.
Wow.
So it was definitely that guy deserved a raise that day. He got cranky. He did get cranky by the end of the scene. It was a long scene. But also I was right next to Isaac, the android. Oh, yeah. There I am taking a picture of myself in the bathroom.
Yeah, I just had to play. I just have to show that picture because if you like me want to play, you want to play Where's Waldo in this episode, then there you go.
There you go. Got to look for big smiles, and crazy buns. But yeah, the actor who played Isaac, the droid, his headpiece came off in two sections. So like the face came off and then the back of the head came off, and there were batteries that would make his eyes light up because they're always lit. You know, that C-3PO lit eyes.
Mhm.
So he too, like the second they called cut, he had two wardrobe girls running up to him to pull that off his head so he could breathe.
Oh,
And
God.
you could see him getting, he really didn't do much in that particular scene. He was just kind of part of the audience, representing all of the crew, but he wasn't like heavy in dialogue or anything, but he had to sit there. Oh, in that picture. Okay. So if you're on YouTube. So when you're doing background work, they have what they call holding. It's just where they hold the extras, where they put you offset, but close enough so when they need you, they can bring you in. And we shot on the Fox lot. So this was season 1 on the Fox lot. And this was in one of the sound stages. So I'm in holding. You could kind of see at the bottom, there's a little bit of someone's face. I think he's probably looking at his phone. So he's lit up by his phone. But behind him, you see they've turned off all the lights in the soundstage, and it's just pure black, and the only light is the light that they're lighting the ship set, which honestly was great. I was in a scene. I was in one of the corridor hallway scenes. I was actually touching the walls because they were like really textured wallpaper. Like they put their effort into the set. It was gorgeous. I was also make you do more Where's Waldo. I was in the scene where they both go on the date with Rob Lowe. So I'm in the cafeteria, and I'm behind them at one of the tables when they're having their drink together. So I was present for that. The cafeteria was a really cool scene, and it's very active. So there's always movement. You have to know you're listening for lines. You have to know when to cross to try to really keep that scene alive. And we're all just the background moving around in there. I could tell you a story about Rob Lowe, though, if you want to hear it. If you want to divert. Well, but you just put another picture up. I have to get that one. So this is on the Fox lot. This is in their New York City set, which is you could kind of see the buildings behind them, kind of have a New York, like the boroughs kind of a look. This was a completely different show. You see all the people walking with their bags and stuff. This was just, we were all the extras walking from one part of the Fox lot to the other. And I just like next to the dumpsters is this ship from the Orville that they didn't have anywhere to store. So they just had it kind of sitting out there in the middle of the lot.
That's a shuttle, isn't it?
It looks like a shuttle. I think so.
Yeah. My wife would have loved to have that in our backyard.
It was big. You can see by compared to the people. Maybe not as big as they probably portrayed it on the inside, but that was a big prop, and clearly they didn't have a space for it. But Rob Lowe just he kind of has a reputation. He's not exactly the nicest guy on set. That day he was kind of, I think because he was a guest star, he was more playful. Like he wasn't a lead. When I worked with him, it was on Code Black. If you remember that medical drama that he did. And it was a scene where the hospital was supposed to be on fire, and we were all people evacuating the building going down a stairwell. So we're on the Disney lot. We're shooting in a stairwell in the parking garage. So it's already full of car emissions. And now they're pumping in smoke to make it pretend like it's actually like the building's on fire. And he is supposed to be racing up the stairs while we're all racing down, because he's the big hero and he's going to save the day. And he's like, I want it to be real. I want you guys to actually bump into me and make it so I have something to work off of. That man body checked me on that stairwell so hard. Talk about how this episode is if he touches you, you're supposed to get these warm fuzzy pheromones. I was just sore. He touched me and I was in pain.
You're still in love with him.
I was so in love with him. Actually, I loved his character in this. Honestly, I think this was a great character for him.
Oh yeah.
So I think they did a good job casting him in this one. I'm glad Code Black didn't last very long. It was a very good show. I think he's doing better with Lone Star 911.
Chrissy, I have 3 questions for you
about
the karaoke scene. What did you sing?
What did I sing?
Girls who have fun.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's like they do a karaoke scene, and in the future, everyone's still doing the same like staples from the 70s or 80s. Like, what's that?
It was the peak of civilization.
I guess it was, or that's as far as the karaoke tracks go. I actually do not do karaoke. My husband is a major karaoke guy. I won't even touch it. So you don't want to hear me sing.
I vaguely remember in season 2 there was an episode about artifacts from Earth's history and how people were trading them and stuff. Karaoke machine. It was obviously came from them.
There you go.
Is that the episode where they show them they have like a zoo of different races and they show them reality TV?
Yes.
That was a good
Unfortunately,
episode.
yes. My second question. What? How was Bortus's singing? Did you get to hear it?
Did you get to see it?
He did goof around a bit. He definitely did in between takes because they were teasing him because he has to play such a straight-faced guy. So
Yeah.
he would goof off a little bit in between, gotta let some energy out. But no, I think they couple times they had him start to sing it, like with the idea of maybe they'll cut him off, like as he's starting to sing. So, but no, he did not exactly have a singing voice. So you were saved by not having to hear him sing Celine Dion.
And my final question, and this is the most important one: did Derulio touch you?
No, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Although he did. I did walk past him in that scene where they're sitting at the bar or having drinks, but no, I did not touch him there.
Hang on, he body checked you. He didn't just touch you.
Well, that was in Cold Black.
Cold Black.
Didn't have the pheromones then.
No pheromones.
It was not in Heat. He
wasn't blue. Was
No,
not blue.
he wasn't in Heat. I think that's it.
It's only once a year. You'll be fine.
That's right.
How unlucky can you be? About as lucky as Kelly.
Well, his culture of they never say no to sex. So what can he do?
Yeah.
That's his culture.
I can't help it if they all want me.
And I honestly thought that was a great plot point to come at it with, Kelly, and this is the guy she cheated on, and that all this tension, and then having Seth MacFarlane's character totally fall for him equally. I thought that was a great choice.
Yes,
I thought it was so much fun, and I like that they're so casual about it. Just to portray. It's like you're not even talking about homosexuality. It's just sexuality. It's just you just have that desire, and of course. Yeah. Fulfill it. You're with a slime guy, whatever,
And there's Bortus and his husband.
Yeah.
And they've got the baby, and
that's an episode that goes hard on deep social topics, actually, that Robert and I have spoken in the past too.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about it too is that the way that the plot was worked out, it gave a great redemptive quality to that issue within them at the end, where when she came as the second in command, there was this friction because it was like this wound that never got closed in between them, and life brought them back together, and they had to work it out. And this kind of brought closure so much that when MacFarlane says at the end, "I'm sorry," I don't think that was "I'm sorry" because of what she did there. It was an "I'm sorry" from long overdue, because he really didn't understand that maybe it wasn't her.
I have to add to that because, as I mentioned, this is one of my wife's favorite. And when I say favorite, I mean favorite shows.
She's an absolute Star Trek addict, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Star Trek adjacent in a big way.
I should have seen the writing on the wall, right? Because this was prior to Star Trek, for her actually. But when we started watching the show, I had an issue. Well, let me rephrase that. Me and my wife had an issue with Kelly from the pilot. And we didn't know how to feel because of what happened, with Delurio and, how the divorce happened and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But I do remember when this episode, and I'm actually adding to what you were saying, Gio. I am so glad for this episode because it explains her, right? And I don't know if I'm even explaining it right. Maybe this is just me, but it explains what happened, the truth behind it, and the fact that the fault doesn't lie in any of them for what happened. It was, in this case, it was Derulio. So.
Well, no. It's the fact that it's not a black and white. It wasn't, I cheated and that's the end, that there were so many layers to it. And now you're talking about 9 episodes in. So you got that opinion of her in the first episode. So that, audiences then are carrying that through. And now that's a great payoff to be like, sometimes it's not as clear cut as you might, from the outside especially, see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's just reminding everybody that nothing is black and white.
Exactly.
Right.
Some
And-
things are, Ray. Some things are.
Only that ultra black stuff that like absorbs 99.999% of light. That's the only thing that's really black. Sorry, scientist. I'll shut up.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the first question. You know, an hour and 20 minutes into the show.
Well, I mean, it was the plot from hell. It went on forever. So.
The first question, if you are new to the show, the first question that we normally ask on the show is, how old were you when you watched this for the first time? And what was your very first impression? Not accounting for if you watched this multiple times, what was your last impression? And I don't know who wants to go first. If you like, I can go first.
Oh, let's leave our honor guests go first.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind. I think Chrissy, go ahead and give us your thoughts on that, because I know that.
Although we know she actually watched it before, she acted on it before she watched it, probably.
Well, here's the thing: she probably has a complete different perspective because she was in it first and she saw it in pieces. Because you're recording, you don't see the whole thing, and after the fact, watching it for the first time as a whole thing. So I bet her perspective will be really cool because she could draw back on the times that she was in. Based on what the scenes and correct me if I'm wrong, Chrissy, but we are really curious to hear your thoughts. Your very first thoughts when you watched this episode for the first time.
Well, it's interesting when you do work on these shows for background. I was working on it before it aired. So I didn't have any reference point. I didn't know anything about these characters, and they're not some shows they will have an assistant come in and kind of give you a breakdown of what's going on. Very rare though. So they're just like, yeah, you go here, stand there, move here, do this. And, we're trying to all talk to each other. Oh, you worked on it before. Oh, this is what happened in the scene I did. And I think Seth MacFarlane is like the Captain Kirk guy. And you're trying to kind of piece it together and also kind of figure out where you fit. I didn't know I was the medical officer until I watched the episode. No idea. They did not tell us what the colors meant. When I booked the show, I was asked what my size was because they only had limited amount of sizes for the uniforms. And I was at the cusp of like the cutoff of where it like any larger and I would not have fit into it. You will notice they are very svelte people on the crew. And in fact, the casting woman was really bullying me. Like, you better not be lying to me that you're this size. You better fit this. 'Cause if I hear you don't.
Wow.
Of course, the pants were like elastic, so it's fine. But when you go in, we were just all lined up outside of wardrobe, and they're just like, "Oh, I think you'll fit this. Oh, we have too many of the red ones. Here, use a green one." And they just kind of keep throwing stuff at you. So yeah,
So as long as you don't have like a green shirt and red pants, that would still work.
Then that's the wardrobe's problem. They made a mistake. But I mean, it was color coded down to the little buns that they put me in. They actually used green rubber bands for my hair to match my green costume. They were really, really detailed. You better
not hate green or you're in trouble.
Right. I'm a redhead. They always give me green. I'm like, I hate green though. Okay, whatever. But yeah, so that would be a difference, is that I had no idea what position I was on the ship. You'd have to show the picture of me in the costume to tell me if you could guess my rank. I have no idea. But the scene, of course, took forever to shoot, considering how quickly it goes by on set or on screen. And that is true. They say for every 8 hours of shooting, you get maybe 8 minutes of material that would make it to the final.
Wow.
And that's pretty much true of TV film everywhere. Although I worked Oppenheimer, and because he used that stupid IMAX film, it was much longer. But it was a very long afternoon to see that scene go by so fast. I'm like, damn it.
It's over.
Oh, but they'll cut back to it, right?
I do remember there's a famous quote from the actor who played Scotty, and he said, "You can't hide a pimple in these things."
Yeah. Yep.
Yes,
'Cause-
I have had some pretty close-up shots on certain things. I'm like, "Oh, there I am. Okay, hey." So, normally, I'm just blurry in the background, is what we say. We're blurry in the background. But overall, I mean, because I got a little sense of the set while I was there, how it was lit, the brightness of it. Like we were talking about, a lot of shows went very dark and have had a lot of shadows and people hiding. And they'll even like, I did that Monica Lewinsky, that Ryan Murphy series that he did, limited series, and we just shot in a mall, and it was a bright, cheery mall, and I watched it. I'm like, oh my god, it wasn't this dark horror film that they ended up doing. It was very much a regular day. So I kind of got from the set of Orville, like, okay, we're going for bright colors, we're going for lots of, yellows, lots of blues. It's going to be it has a lot of happy energy, a lot of positive energy, which plays into the comedy.
It also plays into the Roddenberry.
Yeah. Which I think was probably some of the problems people had with Picard, because it did end up going kind of dark in a lot of places, and people weren't used to that in that universe. But that's a whole nother show.
They went Chris Long on it.
Right?
Well, when you have that much Borg involved, it's got to be dark so that the glowy green bits stand out.
So, Chrissy, fast forward to when you first watched this episode for the first time.
Oh, you mean yesterday?
Yeah. That's pretty much what happens in this show.
I've done hundreds of shows, and I just kind of I forget about which ones I've done or where do I have access to that one? Oh no, I need a subscription for that one. Oh, but I'm like, oh, it's on Hulu. Why didn't I know that? So yeah, I watched it yesterday, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see how it all came together.
Nice. Okay, so who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
Actually, it's your fault, Robert, that I got into the Orville. And
You're welcome.
yeah, I'll thank you for this one. For this one, I'll thank you.
Never thanks me.
No, man, I cannot thank you. You're just giving me a watch list of anxiety.
But I just keep on giving, and you just don't appreciate it.
Yeah, man. A good person is not that one that helps you; is the one that doesn't bother you. You just keep on adding to my list, man.
The opposite of love is
And
not
you're
hate.
suggesting me to watch things that you know I don't want to watch because they're gonna set me up for more frustration.
Oh, look, just don't go into that conversation. That's way off the rails, dude.
But you introduced me to this, Robert, I think back in 2020, 2021, and I binge watched the first 2 seasons that I think they were already on air by then. I think that we watched it. I went over and we watched it together in a matter of a full week. We just sit down every day for lunch and watch it, and then after work, we sit down and watch it too. And I mean, I love this show. That's how good is this show. It's like this is something that you could just watch until you finish it every day. So I had several years or the Broman sister. Oh yeah, bro. Oh yeah.
I had to do that.
You two should get a room. No, wait, you can actually do that.
I don't need a voice changer, but I can do the Barry White. Oh yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Ray, you want to go next, or should I?
Sure, why not? So we have it a bit lucky with the Orville down here in Australia because we have a public broadcaster called SBS, which is the sort of international TV shows broadcaster in Australia. And, they just about everything on there is subtitled because it's in other languages, but not the Orville, because the Orville's on there and all 3 seasons are on there and they're all bingeable because they're online. SBS is actually a free-to-air TV channel. And shows like this, you'd normally have to stay up until 10:30 at night and get one episode a week and remember to watch it or record it or something. But with the Orville, like I could just sit down and binge a season when it came out. So and this is one of those shows, much like Star Trek, where they have episodes that aren't crucial to the overarching plot, like this one. Although it does tick into the relationships between the crew, and then it has other ones which are sort of overarching plot episodes. So it's very Star Trek-y in that fashion, very very next gen. But you can actually I'm not entirely sure if they geo-lock it or not to Australia, but you could use a VPN, use one of the Australian locations, and then just watch all 3 seasons if you wanted to. Just binge the whole lot. So it's quite convenient. Very rare that in Australia you can actually get something good and sit down and binge it for free. So I highly recommend it. But I clearly remember binging season 2 because I was on holidays at the time, so I was out of my normal environment. But I don't remember clearly watching season 1. But I do remember this episode, and I do remember that I appreciated the humor. I found that the show was really heavy on the humor to start with, and maybe they got some feedback that it was a bit too much humor. Like it was just getting to the point of being a little silly, and they eased back on it a bit later on. Like through the second part of the season, I remember there being a little more drama and a little less comedy, but the comedy was still there on every episode. So stayed true to form, and I really liked it when I first saw it, and was looking forward to season 2. Having said that, it took so long for season 3 to come out. I kind of lost track of it, and I still haven't watched season 3, so I need to get in and have a good look at that. And I did actually do a little bit of research, and they're working on season 4, so we're getting some more Orville.
That makes 2 of us.
Really, because the last thing I saw said as of May that they are not renewed.
Really?
I don't know.
Interesting. They haven't called you in, so clearly it's not happening. Because I was reading stuff to say that they were working on it. Maybe they were in pre-production trying to get funding or something.
It is a tough market right now because so many of the studios are desperately trying to kind of make up for their losses from the strike last year with the writers and the actors strike. And I could see how Orville is going to be a pretty big budget. I did do one scene that was in a big orchestra, like they had a big band, and it was a huge scene full of audience and stuff. And I'm just thinking how much money went into just producing that one scene.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that they keep kind of upticking the expectations from the audience, so they probably can't cut back and they'll lose too much if they cut back at this point. So I don't know the wheelings and dealings, but as of right now, they are not renewed.
Okay, so you were showing us this is the Search Labs, the AI overview.
So it basically says that as of January 2024, the Orville creator and writer and star Seth MacFarlane said that the SciFi series has not been canceled. However, as of 2024 April, the show has not been officially renewed for a 4th season.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the AI responses though, but yeah.
Well, what I've read, it says May of 2024. Hulu has not renewed the 4th season. No, the answer to the question is no, it is not renewed. There's no answer why it wasn't given a green light, but as of early May.
And Orville fans, we can all cry together. I'll join you. Okay, so I guess it's my turn. I watched this when it first came out, which is, the only bad thing that I can say about the show is the fact that when I watched it, it was so good that I wanted to watch the next one, and I had to wait a week to get to the next one. But the show, it caught me and my wife equally. And like Ray just said, I should have seen the writing on the wall. Knowing that my wife enjoys this so much should have been an indication that she was going to be such a Star Trek fan like she is now.
A telltale, Robert. A telltale. You should have
Exactly.
known better. Now you're regretting it.
I just want to watch my anime. Okay. Anyway, so what I really, really enjoy for this, I'm going to kind of do this in two parts, right? The show as a whole, I really enjoyed the take. It's the way that I took it, and I guess most people that I talk to, is that this is Star Trek if it was funny. Granted, season 1 and season 2 were funny, and now season 3 gets on the darker side. But even at that, I mean, the comedy has never, it's a lot more serious on season 3, which I believe is, a result of comments. Uh, you would think I would have hated it because I am Admiral Happy Endings here. But no, I really enjoy every season of this show. Because of that fact, it's kind of like a different. It's like getting the IP of Star Trek and making it funny, and I think that very refreshing. I wish I could see more IPs where this is done to them, only because I really enjoy different perspectives. Now, going back to this episode, um, m- and I kind of alluded to this earlier. Me and my wife, I think we enjoyed this episode um, a lot because it actually answered a question that we had about the number one on this show, Kelly, and their relationship with the captain of the ship. Um, I guess it alludes to what the mad scientists have mentioned. This has great writing. So it's really cool how they gave you like crumbs from the very beginning on the pilot, and they. This is just one example, but there's many other things within the show that they kind of get into the actual answer and give you a completely different perspective of what you thought it was, which me and my wife and their divorce within this show, we had a complete different perspective until we get to this episode, and then we both went like, ah. And I love when they showed when any show or any well, let me put it this way, any IP does this, because it's a tell that he grabbed you.
Yep. It plants a seed on you and it just stays there quiet and it just comes out of nowhere several episodes after.
But the beautiful part about it was that you built up this image of her as being an adulteress in your head because that's what they presented to you. And the moment when she asked that question at the end of the episode, suddenly it's an aha moment, not just for you, but for the character as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you share an aha moment with the character, that's when you feel really invested.
But it was
Not only that, but the whole situation brings a social prejudice that you're a cheater, so he already predispose you, and you give you a predisposition towards her character, not to try to even understand it or look around it.
it,
So it's a
it was
humbling situation.
exactly. It was really confusing to us because we get that fed into us. Okay, obviously, the captain walked on her and Derulio in bed, right? And the first
Duru, like he calls it. I love how he calls it Duru.
but then we see how she interacts with the crew, how she is, and we are. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but we were kind of like confused. We did not know what to think, and I think that's a testimony of the writing.
But I also would like to point out that karaoke scene at the beginning is not a throwaway scene. It's not just a little comic moment because there is a great shot when she's up there and you're kind of being vulnerable when you do karaoke and
Oh,
she's up there, she's performing in front of everybody, especially with her position in the ship. And they have a shot on Seth where you could feel that he still has the feelings for her.
Yes.
He has that look like, I remember the good times. And it
Yeah.
goes away really fast. We don't comment on it, but it's that's planted at the beginning so that when we start talking about the betrayal later on, it has even more impact because we saw that his feelings are still there and still vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
Where there were fire, ashes remain.
Oh, awesome.
the fire may have burned down, but the embers are still hot.
But I will venture to say that the whole situation with Carrie is a moral lesson. Really, it's again. I'm gonna continue repeating this throughout the episode, but that's one of my favorite things about this show is that even though it's comedy, it actually hits home with a lot of social issues and day-to-day things that we all can relate to. You know, and it could change your perspective in many things throughout life. Just looking at it and watching yourself go like, "Oh wow, okay, I
Well,
was
that's
wrong."
been always the beauty of sci-fi going back to the 50s
Mhm.
and the Cold War. It's like we're allowed to make these social comments, but under the guise of, oh, it's just a future world. Oh, it's just a fictional world. And they don't have to be held accountable for you're having this right-wing view or this left-wing view.
Yeah,
It's like they're able to just make their statement and their opinion and flush things out that maybe other fiction would be held to the coals for.
yep.
Star
So
Trek was always a mirror of social issues of the time that
Of
it was
course,
produced.
yeah.
So you can watch through Star Trek, and if you're watching it with that lens, you can see, the Cold War and what was happening at the time reflected
Racial
in these
tensions.
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fall of the Berlin Wall was around the time of I can't
early
remember which
'80s.
Star Trek. I can't remember
Next
which
Gen.
Star Trek movie it is, but it's one of the classic Star Trek movies where the moon Praxis explodes, and the Klingons, they're in trouble, and they got to come to the negotiating table with the humans. So that is a reflection of the end of the Cold War and the fall of the USSR. So
I think it's a Star Trek. I
undiscovered country.
think wasn't it 4? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, undiscovered country. That's it. You got it.
I couldn't remember quite off the top of my head. I'm glad you got the list there, Mr. Star Trek.
I would have to add to what Chrissy and Ray mentioned here by saying, and this is something that I have said in multiple episodes in the past, is that that's one of the great things about science fiction as a whole. It is what I think is great is a thought experiment. And you guys have heard me say this many times, and I don't get tired of saying this because I think that's one of the reasons why I love sci-fi so much is the fact that just like any scientific research, you have to have that thought experiment in order to translate it into, okay, is it doable as an experiment? Where can we go from here? But it starts with thought. And science fiction does this. And the great thing, it doesn't stop in science. It goes anywhere. Like Gio mentioned, social issues. Look at, for example, there is a movie that we covered, I believe, on season 1, is Gattaca.
Yes.
That movie was responsible for a couple of laws that were signed into place worldwide to prevent manipulation of DNA. And that's because science fiction is a thought experiment. We're going to take this issue, we're going to take this, whatever it is, technological advance, problem, and let's experiment with this. How is society going to behave with this? Where are they going to eat? Where are going to be what are the issues with this? What is it going to cost in the future? And we kind of start thinking about that and seeing this in movies, and it's amazing because I mean, uh, in a sense, and Ray and Gio agree. Chrissy, you could correct me if you feel I'm wrong, but I feel that they can only help in the advance on civilization because it adds another level of experimentation to the science that on our way to becoming a technology or a palpable reality that we can use.
I'd have to say that you're half right.
Okay.
Good science fiction is
Yeah.
exactly as how you've described. Then there's the other sort of science fiction. I'll give you a perfect example here. Saturn 9. So Saturn 9 was basically a space western. They wanted to make it as a western, couldn't get money for it because westerns were out of vogue at the time, and sci-fi were getting funded, so they put it on Saturn. And it was a western on Saturn, and that's sort of like the cheap trick sci-fi. Put space in front of it, it'd be way cooler. Space western, so much better than a western. It's
boys.
just the Firefly. It's just the way they do it. I know I'm not putting Firefly down because Firefly had a whole bunch of different levels and it wasn't written as a western and then turned into a science fiction.
I love Firefly.
That was a show that was a tragedy to get canceled.
Yes. Yes.
Did you guys catch the joke in? I realize there's many seasons of Big Bang Theory, but there's actually one of the first. It might have even been the pilot. I think it was the pilot, or it was a flashback to when they just started renting the apartment together. And the comment was made that Thursday nights is Firefly night because that show is brilliant and it's going to be running for like 10, 15 years.
I can cry.
Well, my husband would not date me until I watched Firefly. Straight up, I am not joking.
Wow.
He's lucky I really loved it. So
It's a real player. It's a real player.
What you have to go through for a man, huh?
Right? It was the first movie we watched together. I'm like, do you have the original Terminator? He's like, I'm marrying you.
Keeper.
Awesome. So yeah, that's why I think that's one of the main reasons why I love sci-fi, and it's because of that. It's and any for like you said, right, for good sci-fi, it also puts that questioning, that curious bug in you, and if you are attentive enough, you are going to Google stuff, and you're going to try to find out. So, an example that we'll get to at the end of this episode is, the quantum drives. We'll probably get into that, but and if you are listening to the show long enough, you know that that's the main thing that grabs me from this IPs is like, what is the feasibility? What is, how feasible it is? How realistic is this? And the more that it attracts you to the science, the more that it makes you question that, the more I love it. Because I'm telling you, and I don't know which episode we talked about this, but education is key. If we stop and taking everything we see online as the Bible and research ourselves. I'm not saying this because maybe the person who wrote it is wrong.
Fact check, people.
I'm not saying this because the person that did it is wrong. I'm saying this because, as my university professor said, I am human. And he told me this after a class because I was complaining that he wasn't teaching me. He says, I am human. And it's your responsibility to call me out in class when I'm saying something that is not accurate. And that just changed my mind. I mean, that was a pivotal moment in my life where I said, wow, someone that I took as, the person, he's the person that is actually guiding me in my education, is telling me that he's just like me and that he's expecting me to call him out. That was eye-opening for me. And I think that not many people out there, just because you name drop, the Mayo Clinic says blah, 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 right? But there's no sources to that.
Mhm.
And just because you hear Mayo Clinic, now you think, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Not necessarily. So,
Well, some people might be giving information that they believe is correct, but they haven't fact checked it. So they're perpetrating a fallacy. They're continuing it. So.
and I did an experiment. If you follow our socials, you know what I'm talking about. I posted an article and I waited. And within the same day, I got a response from one person. I'm not going to call them out because I expect everybody to follow our socials. But hey, I had to applaud you because that's what I want. That's exactly what I wanted.
Everybody can make mistakes.
Exactly. And if you listen to the show, I do that occasionally. That's why we got the mad scientist in the show, because we do that occasionally. So yes.
Can I? I've got something specific to what you've just said that I can share. I just want to do this for a minute. So basically, this is a story that I was told by I work in the university sector, so I've spent a lot of time around academics, some of which I have a lot of respect for, and some of which I think are complete phonies. Individual results will vary, but basically, this was a biologist who was getting a bit sick of his students just rocking up and writing down everything that he said. So he decided to put in a test for them during one of his lectures. So one of his lectures was on the evolution of dragons. And he walked in, I shit you not, he walked in to the class, he had a PowerPoint organized, he stood there and, deadpanned them for 40 minutes about how dragons were real and how they evolved, and, drew in little hints from fables and lore and stuff to just give it that feeling that it could possibly be right, like talking about King Arthur and so forth and so on, acting like it was all, cited fact and all this sort of stuff. And he just waited for somebody to call his bullshit. And he would do this every year. And some years, nobody said anything.
It's
but
hard
in the good
because
years,
you've got an authority figure, and you kind of feel like you're saying with Robert, with your teacher, like, this is an authority figure. They should know. Who am I to say something?
Uh-huh.
And on the good years, he'd get to about 20 minutes and somebody would call bullshit. They put it, oh, you got a question? And yeah. No, it's not so much a question, it's a statement. This is bullshit. And he's like, you get extra marks.
A+.
And then he would immediately pivot and start talking about fact checking and, don't trust anything you are told. Get it from multiple sources. Make sure it's cited correctly, and just, if it sounds dodgy, it probably is dodgy, and call it out. And it's just a wake up call, because as a researcher, and which a lot of these kids would end up being, and as somebody with scientific training, you don't just believe everything you're told.
Yeah,
you've got to fact check it. You've got to get it from multiple sources. I had a personal experience in my very first job as a scientist. I was working on heart research. It was a particular enzyme, fatty acid ethyl ester synthase. I still remember it because I worked on it for a year and a half. But basically, my group was publishing papers saying one thing, and there was a group in the UK publishing papers saying the exact opposite. And whenever the two group, I never went to a conference with this group, but whenever the two leads of these groups met at conferences, they would be like, it would like be presenting wars, where one would present and the other would try and tear it down, and then they swap places. And it just went on for years because they couldn't definitively state this is how it is. Science is not perfect, and science is not this is the facts. We're always discovering new things, and there's different ways to look at things and different ways to interpret data. So, you've got to think about it. Science is a thinking discipline. It's not just absorbing and taking everything as read. You can't do that. It just doesn't work that way. So, there's my little lesson for the day. Fact check everything I say, because sometimes I talk bullshit too. I don't even realize it. So.
But yeah, and that's another thing that I love about science is the fact that you have you have a theory, you do your experiment, you write your responses, you redo them, and you write a peer review and publish it, and you have half the scientific community might say, oh, that might be a good idea, let me do an experiment on that, and the other one said, no, that's bullshit, I'm gonna prove you wrong. And that is freaking amazing to me, because that's how we move forward with science. That's how scientific progress moves forward. So oh, nice. Yeah, I ran out of whiskey. I'm drinking right now.
Yeah, don't talk to me about whiskey.
Oh, dear.
You're a bad influence, Robert.
I'm so sorry.
And he's supposedly the most sane and pure-hearted.
Who's got the full collection of Crazy Train memes here?
That would be Chaos. He is the Chaos.
It's actually the scientist.
Oh, is that the scientist? Oh my God. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Ray. That's getting together with Chaos.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Got to ride the whirlwind.
He knows whenever he's doing something, whatever around his life, and he says he sees an essay that I write in commentaries about me reading something that he suggested me to watch or read.
If you want to know what we're talking about, you want to join our Discord. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Yes.
You'll be seeing me and Chaos having epic discussions. I'll call them discussions. They could definitely be wandering into epic battles territory, but we'll call them epic discussions.
I don't know. I saw fights.
We're frenemies, all right?
It's like sibling fights. You can think that we're killing each other, but at the end, some imaginary force of the universe just makes us hug at the end. Okay.
Hey, don't you be putting your pheromones on me.
Rob Lowe comes in and everything's better.
Exactly.
Just be careful with my head because it squirts.
Oh.
I didn't need to know that.
No, me neither. And moving on.
Can I just say one thing about this episode?
Go ahead.
Yandere Claire. That scene, it wasn't mentioned in the it wasn't actually mentioned. I thought every scene was mentioned, but it wasn't actually mentioned in the 6-act plot synopsis. But yandere Claire. Now, if you don't know what yandere is, it's a Japanese term for dangerous love. So like somebody who loves you so much that they want to like handcuff you and keep you in their room, and if any other woman goes near you, the knives come out.
That's called BDSM.
No, it's a little different.
Bondage.
It's a little different.
You're not necessarily enjoying it.
I mean, you don't necessarily use a safe word, but
the safe word is.
Okay, continue.
But the scene where Claire comes running up to Yaffet, who and is like, "You haven't called me. Why haven't you called me? You just had your way with me and threw me away." And she pulls a gun on him.
Yeah, she goes full Karen on him.
Yeah, that's totally underrated. It was great. I loved it.
So I guess that goes into the question that I was going to ask. And I'll give you another chance if you have another. But I wanted to ask, and this is a question that we normally ask halfway through the show: is what was your favorite scene or moment from this episode?
I'm done. I'm already done.
That you don't have to. You don't have to think about it. It just comes to mind, especially since we all watched this today. Who wants to go first? I can go first.
I went first.
Oh, there you go. You went first. So you don't have another moment.
I do, but I don't want to ruin all yours because I might.
Oh, okay.
So somebody else's. So
I'll let you go last, just in case.
Yeah, sure.
So, I don't know if Chrissy or Gio or I can go first, whichever. This
mine is simple. It's when Borders is gonna sing and then they just cut it. That was like, oh, bro, no, you didn't. Like, I was like the crew of actors when they're like that. I was like that, and every time that I watch it, I'm like that, waiting for him to sing, and then they cut it because it's just like there's nothing on TV like that. A guy like Borders singing Celine Dion, like, no, there isn't.
That's what's called chaos. That's what's called gap mode.
Gap mode
in otaku circles. It's basically the actions don't match the person's character.
To me,
and it's that
more
difference that makes it interesting.
Well, the literal description to me is like you're at the edge of the seat, but then somebody pulls the seat from behind you.
Borders was totally gap mode at that moment.
That's what totally felt like.
Oh wow, yeah,
that was my scene. That was my scene.
Nice. Chrissy, you want me? You have one?
Well, I really appreciated the running joke of the elevator music, but I will change. I think they went too far for the third beat. I loved that the first beat was, of course, there's all the tension because they're fighting and then they have to kind of be civil while this other person has stepped into the elevator with them and he feels the tension. And so wouldn't it be great if there was like music in these elevators? Yeah. And he's got this really like kind of woohoo trying to diffuse, right? Second beat, again, they end up in the elevator with him and he brings up the music again because there's still tension. They're still fighting. And that's when they turned to him and was like, why don't you go take care of the music then? Why don't we make that your job? And then the third beat, how I would have liked it, would have been them coming into the elevator. They've got the music playing, and that's it.
Yeah.
I
didn't need the third time for that guy to come in there and for them to make a big to-do about it. I think the joke was there because they had a moment where they were quiet with each other and you just heard the elevator music going. Like, that to me was it. That when he got in the elevator, I'm like, eh.
It would have been more sublime. I totally agree.
Just the subtle callback rather than hitting it over the head.
Yes, I agree so much. Yes.
Well, Seth does like to hammer those jokes home.
That is kind of his style.
He's not being subtle.
I think it's safe to say that all of us, when the third time came with the elevator joke, we all rolled our eyes, right?
Dude, what is your job? Is it to ride the elevator?
You kind of wonder.
Definitely.
Awesome. I think for this episode, it's that that fight between Kelly and Ed to get to the blue guy.
When they're both enamored by him at that point?
And they're actually just fighting for his attention and see who's going to get him. And, he likes me better. I think that was classic.
Maybe when he's with Duru on the bedroom and she's eating chocolate, comfort food, crying to the music.
Exactly. That the whole interaction there is kind of
like he's watching the fleet going to war, and he's like, "You're the captain of this ship," and like the only thing I'm captain of is that hunk of body blue that you have. Come over here. And it was very sublime how he did that joke, because he started first like plucking his eyebrows and like over grooming himself. Like it was too funny.
yeah. When he was putting the perfume, it's like, you have a thing for him. I don't have a thing for him.
You should be happy for me.
Oh wow, yeah. That's it for me.
Those pheromones are evil.
Yeah.
I need to know where to find those.
You'll have to cultivate the generation of them, Gio.
I maybe just go to Universal and become one of
You
them.
have to meditate under a waterfall for like 3 days, shit like that.
You just want me to drown? You can ask me for that directly, man.
No water, no food, just just meditation. That's it.
Well, he sure will smell by the end of that, but I don't know if it's the right smell.
Yeah.
So Ray, do you still have one, or should we move on to?
Oh, I think it was probably, if you want me to pull up another one, it was when the security chief walked in on Yaffet and Claire bathing together, I guess you'd call it. When he was in her pipes.
That was shocking for the viewer, and I only imagine for the security officer that had to open that door. It must be traumatic. Because
now that one I would have liked to see how they filmed it, since obviously he was CG. Like, did the poor woman have to like be like kneeling on something and like with a shirt down to her, like below her shoulders? And like,
I did wonder. Intrusive thoughts, but I did wonder. How did they film that?
But the poor woman
I did
is having to
realize
have a sex scene by herself.
Well, that's 2 sex scenes because you had to do that sexy sigh.
Yep. You know what came to mind when I saw that scene? I was like every other lady listening to 50 Shades of Grey audiobook.
You came to mind when I saw that scene. Oh, this is how Rimuru has kids.
Oh God.
Yeah,
at least Jaffet has a nice masculine voice that goes with it. Rimuru has a weird voice because it's not female, it's not male.
Rimuru is voiced by Brittany Karbowski,
but she's making an impression voice. I don't think that's her natural voice, is it?
Probably.
It grows to you. You get used to it. Let's put the train back on the rails now.
I want to say something for the Star Trek fans out there. If you're wondering what happened to Sisko's girlfriend, this is what she ended up in. So, gonna leave it there. If you know, let me see what is this. And for all of you out there who are actually watching our YouTube channel, and if you are not, you subscribe. We're showing a train.
Let's sing a song. Boat in the rails, train in the water.
This is actually a very famous train accident in France at the end of the 18th century. The train just kept going at the buffers at the end of the line, went out the end of the station.
Wow. Yep. Okay.
When I saw that, I thought Geo straight away. Captain Chaos.
Okay. I think we might be at that time on the show where we ask the last question. And if you're new to the show, that question is, what is your last impression? And it's the way that the response is you accumulate, if you are like me, who watched this multiple times, or if you watch it once, you only have one perspective. But what is your last impression, combining the multiple times that you have watched this show? Not sure here who watched it multiple times. I think Geo is one. Okay. And I take it, Chris, see you'd seen it once?
Yeah, just the once.
Okay. So the reason why I'm asking is because I usually let the person who only watched it once go first. So our responses don't influence your response.
Wow.
So it's just your last impression on this episode. You could go as far as the show if you like.
Well, I do think that Hollywood needs more shows that can combine comedy and drama together because I really am getting tired of when I look at, okay, what do I want to watch tonight? And like, oh, everything is so heavy. And I
How depressed
really,
do you want to be? That's how you choose your shows.
how depressed, yeah, like, I've had a really rough day and, all these horrible things are actually happening in my life. Maybe a little escapism instead of just having more
Yes.
stuff lumped onto me. So I hope even if Orville doesn't get a second life, that more of this kind of going back to what was called the Blue Sky Network when USA Network would do more lighthearted dramas. I would like to see a change in that and more of this style in some way. That would be my takeaway.
Yep. Okay. Out of the three of us now, I guess who wants to go first?
I can go next.
Okay.
Yep.
I watched it several times, man, and like I said before, I said it pre-show too. I forgot how much I love this show because it's one of those things that it doesn't matter the mood you're in; it'll get you in a good mood and it'll get you to laugh, and you're gonna have a good time. It's a great place to go back to, and I can tell you, I probably have watched the two seasons that I've watched. I've watched it maybe like 3 times, and it's so good that whenever I pick it up and watch it, I don't watch less than 4 or 5 episodes. So it's always a fun time, and there's no regrets in there. I would definitely suggest anybody if you're gonna want to have a good time, and you don't have to be a Trekkie for it. You're
Yes.
gonna enjoy it. And I think the lower decks that you mentioned, Robert, is just the same way. Like you don't have to be a Trekkie to enjoy lower
No.
decks. That's a beautiful thing about it.
It helps.
It helps. It definitely does. But that's a great thing about it. And I agree with Gio, is that it doesn't force you to go searching for references to enjoy what you're watching right now. And I venture to say, and please reach out to me if you feel that I am incorrect in what I'm about to say. But I feel that because of that mixture, because of how that is done, it could be watched in any order. So that's just my 2 cents on what you just said there.
No, I think that's true too because so much drama nowadays you have to binge from the beginning. They don't have where you can just join it at any time. And like you said, if you have watched it from the beginning, you know the characters, you have more of a connection to their relationships, but
Yeah.
it's not important to the plot that's in front of you. And so you can enjoy it as and with that is what TV used to be, because you wouldn't have the ability to stream everything. So you just be like, what's this show? And it's been 5 episodes in, and you could still pick it up and become a fan. And I think TV is missing a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Definitely. I think that the worst you can get if you get 2-part episodes in once in a while in one of that kind of show, but it's not very often that even happens.
That's sweeps week, man.
Mhm.
That's sweeps week.
Nice. Okay. I'm assuming that's it for you, Gio.
Mhm.
Okay.
My turn.
Your turn. Go ahead.
My turn. So, as a long time fan of Star Trek, this show is very comfortable. I mean, we're only talking about the one episode here because it gets difficult if you're talking about multiple episodes and they're not really heavily connected together. But I could go off this one episode and say that it has the Star Trek formula. It has the next gen TOS formula, and it does it really well. Beyond hammering the jokes a little bit hard here and there, it really is sublime. The writing, the direction, the acting, it all comes together really, really well. And it's like comfort food sci-fi. But it's not just that. On the surface, it's comfort food sci-fi, but if you probe a little bit deeper and, like Geo, watch it a few times, you will start to pick up all sorts of social issues and character interactions. And I'm sort of going sideways here, but it'll make sense in a minute. But there was a lot of what I call cheesy sci-fi, where the
campy much.
It's not even campy. It's just the characters were too perfect. They had no problems. They, faced down horrible things with a smile on their face, and nothing could unbalance them. And they just every week they'd come through and save the day, and they were like superheroes.
And that's kids programming, really. It's not meant for adults when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. But you would still get it in adult programming sometimes. And it often in sci-fi was supposed to be like the bright future where everybody's perfect and we never have any problems. It's like bullshit. And it just doesn't work, as I've mentioned earlier. But this show is not like that. This show has characters that feel like real people. They go through changes. They discover things about their situations that they didn't know before, and it pivots the way you look at them, like what happens with Kelly in this episode. And that's really good writing, and that's it's just really done really well. And this, obviously being science fiction and having alien races which do unusual things that aren't very human, give opportunity to have interesting comedy and interesting social commentary that would be harder if everyone was a human. But I don't see it being too difficult to port this into like a medical setting or some other setting that's just not science fiction, and it would still work because it's at its core, it's very human. And sure, we want to have a laugh. We want it to be light on the surface, and that's enjoyable, but it's also very human. The characters are very human. They're written very well. And I really applaud this show for going that extra mile to pull all that together and make it work. And that's why I think it should get another season, because it really is done well. And some people have said this is more Star Trek than Star Trek these days. And
kind of Galaxy Quest a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
exactly. Very much in that vein. If you like Galaxy Quest, you'd love Orville. And I don't think they're particularly wrong that this is a bit more Star Trek than Star Trek these days, because as you were saying, Christy, it's not all dark and brooding and all that sort of stuff. It's the Roddenberry future, which is what Star Trek was and should still be. But Orville's taken up the torch, as it were. So highly recommend Orville. If you like Galaxy Quest, if you like Star Trek, if you like a bit more humor like Lower Decks, definitely check this one out. It is stellar. And yes, that was meant to be a pun.
I think that we should make it a
joke in there.
Yeah, I think that we should make it part of the show. Whenever we talk about Galaxy Quest, we had to go out around there.
Okay, so since I go last, I find myself echoing what most of you actually said. Let me just start with I'm going to echo what Christy said. Me being Admiral Happy Endings, I really enjoy this, and I wish there was more programming like this. I agree with you, Chrissy. Most, when you turn the TV, most of the stuff you see is dark and is broody, and I I always have this conversation with Gio after work, and I'm like, I enjoy what I do, but it's very taxing. So I just want to sit in the sofa, grab a beer, and watch something, like you said, Chrissy, escapism. I want to escape the normal and be transported to a happy place, something away from the stress of the day. Um, this is what this is, and I wish more IPs would copy somewhat, like very on mad scientist mentioned. This formula doesn't just works for sci-fi; it works for anything that you apply it to. Um, one other thing that I can say is that this it, partly why I love this is why I love Lower Decks. I have been a Star Trek fan for a while, and like Ray mentioned, you have that your typical figurehead on the stories that you see in Star Trek are like the noble person, the straight and narrow, and the ship is exploding all around, but they know what to do, and everything is right, and they always find a solution.
Plot armor.
Pa- Partly why I love Lower Decks is because it humanizes the characters. It doesn't give you that, pedestal. You see them as how you might react on a situation like that. And I love Lower Decks for that. I think, although this might not be exactly the same thing because we're talking about, breach officers and all this stuff, this one step forward. It's kind of like Hold My Beer, right? And it took those characters that we normally have a pedestal for, which we might still do, but we're a lot more relatable because they're more humanized on the Orville. And we see the captain, and we see, and they still have that rule with their crew, right? But they're not idols. They're humans, and we see them being human, and we can relate to if we were in a position where they are. That's how we could probably behave. It's not something that you're wondering, would I do this? No, this is humanizing it, bringing it down to us. And I really appreciate that. Combining that with the funny nature of the show, in my eyes, that makes it the perfect show. And if you have not watched it, I actually will, you know, I will ask, right? Go watch the first episode and reach out to us. Could be on social, could be on our YouTube. You could go to our YouTube channel and put it on the comments below, or you can go to our Discord channel, and let me know. I'm really curious to think. I mean, to hear if you think that I was wrong, and what are your thoughts? There's no wrong or right answer in here. I'm just kind of wondering what is your thought about this show, because every person that I've talked to so far that has seen this, the very first episode, they really really enjoyed it because of those reasons. Um, uh, I mean, if you listen to the show long enough, you know that me and Captain Chaos don't necessarily have the same taste. He likes more of a darker, bloodier, violent type of sci-fi, or not just necessarily sci-fi in general. And he enjoys this show, so that said something about this show. Um, so that is actually my last thought.
Yeah.
I would invite everybody to watch it and let us know what you think.
If even
And it'll be a
somebody like
drinking game if you can find me in any of the scenes.
Yes, please. Let us
Hey,
know.
I will say no to that one. I have bad experience with drinking games. We did a drinking game for a Christmas special that we recorded, and we would drink every time that somebody said sci-fi, and I just purposely said it more, and I
I
regret
was
it.
Oh,
I
you stacked the
regret it.
deck on that one.
I
I was
regret it half a
focused.
way. So,
My
Rose.
last drinking game was the Lord of the Rings drinking game. Whenever Sam and Frodo had a moment, you had to skull,
Oh
and
no,
and it
man.
was the extended edition, so it's like 13
Oh,
hours. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my god! By the time they got to that volcano, we were so smashed.
Lord of the Ring is my comfort TV, so I know how bad of a decision you made there.
Oh, never again. Never again.
Lord of the Rings is one of those franchises that I've watched each movie more than 30 times. And I could
Ooh.
say surely each of them. I could
Yeah.
probably I
You've
can quote
lost
the
a
whole
do it
year
if
of
movie.
you
your life to Lord of the Rings.
don't do
My
it. Don't do
comfort
that
TV.
drinking game if you value your liver. That's all I can say.
Ooh.
We still don't know till this day where was Rohan when Gondor called for it.
Yeah. One of the, one of the mysteries. Okay. So, are we ready for the last segment?
Hit it.
And I am going to press the right button this time.
Woohoo!
In sci-fi.
Phew, he got it right.
You're holding your breath there, right?
I was like, well, theoretically, this is my segment, but you guys have been getting involved, which is great. So it's actually a year anniversary since I disappeared for that month when I had the open heart surgery. So yeah,
You bring the
still here.
scientific part to it.
You
Yeah,
bring
scientific. Yeah, definitely.
And there is a shirt. If you guys are listening out there and you want that on a shirt, just go into our shop. Scientific is there. Awesome. So, and we're glad you're back. You have no idea. And for all of you out there who actually listened to our episode, the very first episode when our very own mad scientist was back from his hiatus, you could tell, he was missed. So
It was crazy. We start watching Cyberpunk, and out of nowhere, this guy just started doing upgrades and crumbing up.
oh, nice. Okay, so
do you want to get quantum on our asses? Because I see a lot of quantum there. Quantum this, quantum that.
Yeah, you know me and quantum. I mean, let me preface this by saying it is theoretical, right? This is right now in the, how I want to call this, a thought experiment realm. So, but it for some reason I just find the topic extremely fascinating. So whenever they touch on the subject, I just lit up. I just enjoy reading about quantum mechanics. So why I got so interested is because in this show they don't use warp drives, which are also a theory that we have talked about. How you can nice, how you can actually
I have a beer for you. Quantum entanglement.
nice. I want to get that. It's an IPA too. Um, warp technology is the theory, and we have actually talked about this where you probably need dark matter.
You gotta be careful with that beer because it can make you warp.
Oh wow. So the idea is you fall space. You actually are not moving, but I guess the best way that I could say it is you're riding a wave on a surfboard. Oh my god. If you're not following on YouTube, you're missing out. They're just throwing the quantum on me. And I am not mad. Um, I just want to drink those beers.
You know what came to mind when you say you're not moving for quantum? It's more like, have you seen those romantic cartoons when you lasso somebody and then you go like this? That's the same thing you do to space, right?
So in this show, they go far away from Star Trek and not use the warp
Mhm.
engines, and they go to quantum engines. And I found that very refreshing because although warp has become a thing thanks to Michael Alcubierre, the scientist who coined, he was a Star Trek,
Alcubierre drive.
and he actually, he didn't invent it. Let me be careful with that. He wrote the math that proves the warp is possible. Warping engine is possible. So that has become a thing because of science fiction. But quantum has been a thing, a part of scientific research, and is still being part of scientific research. We're very, very in its infancy, extremely. So I am so looking forward to the advancements because we're basically at the go on this race. We just started. So I find that really, really, really cool how they went and separated themselves from Star Trek, and they say, okay, the ships in this universe are going to use quantum drive.
So,
So,
Robert, what did they use to fuel quantum drive?
Very interesting. And that is quantum vodka?
Quantum spirits.
Oh my God, you have all the quantum stuff.
I like that one, quantum spirits.
I so want this.
When you want to exist in two places at the same time, you're so drunk.
That's a scientific version. That's a difficult version of blur vision.
Yes, exactly. Hey, I see two of you. That's because we're quantum.
Yeah, you see two cats. One is dead and one is alive. Okay, so there's a couple of things that might explain how this ship might travel through space. One of the things that I can talk about somewhat, and I'm kind of stretching this slightly, but it kind of makes sense in my head, is a quantum entanglement. This is something that we have actually talked about. Quantum entanglement is a phenomenon where particles become correlated such a way that the state of one particle instantaneously affect the state of another particle. So they are connected regardless of how far they are within the galaxy. So if one is let's just bring it down to the power of a computer. If one happens to be a 1, the other one is a 1. If one happens to be a 0, the other one is a 0 because they're entangled. They're together. So I always, and these are conversations that I had had with Gio whenever he comes down, and how quantum could be great if we could, learn enough, improve enough within that theory. Just the fact that they're entangled can open up so many things. It could open, and again, I'm just theory like crazy here. None of the stuff is proven that I'm saying. It just makes sense in my head because the particles are entangled. You could have transporters. You could you can trap. You could have anti-gravity ships. You could because of that, if you are able to take advantage of that entanglement, that what I'm talking about traveling with quantum would technically be quantum tunneling. So I want to say like a like a wormhole, but not really. Quantum tunneling is quantum mechanic phenomenon where particles pass through the barrier that would be impasse according to classical physics. While traditional studies in context of particle physics, the context could inspire ideas of unconventional propulsion systems. So I mean, Ray might have a different
Something more like a warp gate.
kind of. You know, they talk about wormholes. There was an article that I was reading from NASA about wormholes. And of course, all this wouldn't be possible in my thought. I mean, I could be proven wrong because again, this is theoretical. It's the beginning, but I don't think it would be possible without the help of a quantum computer because of and we talked about this in previous episodes,
Yes.
how quantum computer. And let me repeat for all those who have not heard that conversation. In science, especially and Ray could probably prove me wrong here because this is probably around his alley. Whenever you're doing medical research, it is my understanding that you take let's say for example you're researching a disease, and you have different vials. So let's say for example for this example you have 100 vials. I might be wrong in the number, and you have different chemicals and study their reaction. So you have all those numbers. You have vial number 1, vial number 2, and vial. Let's say, for example, you study all those. You come back after incubation, and maybe vial 98 proved to be promising in curing whatever that disease is. So then you grab that and try to replicate what you did and do various um, experiments based on that one, and maybe you end up having another 100 vials, and pick, let's say for example in this second iteration, maybe vial 55 was the promising one, and you keep on doing iterations and iterations until you find um, the 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 cure. Let's just say for this thought.
The solution. It's a
solution.
problem posed that is a challenge, a problem, and it needs to be resolved. Right? A solution.
Exactly. Now, why I'm mentioning this is because quantum computers will allow you to do every possible combination all at the same time.
Yep.
So you don't have to go through the iterations. You can just run the problem through it. And again, this is theoretically possibilities. It's we still have quantum computers on fridges. They don't do this quite yet, but we're talking about the possibility in the future. You could actually run a problem because of its nature, its quantum nature, is able to run all possible combinations all at once, and you can study the results. And that really
It's a game changer.
it's a wow for me. It's a mind blow because just on medical research, it's going to be incredible.
Yep. And I want to add real quick a little segue to that. That not only that, but usually once we get the solution, unless it needs to be simplified for making it more accessible to the public, we settle for what we get.
Mhm.
And with quantum computing, you're going to get different ways to resolve that problem, and you'll be able to determine which is the most efficient way to tackle the issue, which is not the nature of classical calculation. Usually, you just try to get the answer, and unless you necessarily need to simplify it and make it better, we'll settle for that.
Okay.
One thing that I should mention is that a lot of people think drug creation or medicine creation is binary, so it's yes or no. It's not, because there's always a few people in the population who are allergic, or it doesn't affect in the same way as everyone else, because there's always variants in the population that don't react the same way to things. I've known people who are allergic to codeine, who are allergic to ibuprofen. They can't take them. So any drug that works on 80+% of the population is considered successful and marketable. But there's always a certain number of people that have negative effects or are more prone to side effects. And the more complicated thing the drug is trying to deal with, the more likely there are side effects, and the more accepting of the side effects the medical community is, because the thing is so hard to cure. So if you look at something like treating leukemia with chemotherapy has a bunch of side effects, but they still use it because otherwise the person will die. So, I mean, you can suffer a bit and maybe survive, or you can just die. Which you're going to choose?
Yeah.
Everyone pretty much chooses to suffer a bit. So medicine is not binary. It's not this will fix you, this won't fix you. There's a whole bunch of gray areas with things that aren't 100% effective or 100% clear, and we use them because we don't have any alternatives. And yeah, I think that quantum computing, giving you multiple solutions at once, will be a game changer for medicine, certainly, because you've got to have more than one way to deal with things, because it's not going to work on everybody every time.
Yeah.
I think it will be hugely important in drug creation and medicine in general.
And that's just one example. I just pointed that example, because it's one of the ones that comes to mind. But just imagine, apply that same logic to every possible issue that we have, and it's a game changer. Changer for any branch of science, any. So. And that's why I love quantum. So, and that's all I had to say about quantum. So,
it'll be good. It'll be good when they get it really hammered out. They're still working the bugs out of it.
So oh yeah. I don't blame you, Robert. I mean, who wants to wait for the results?
I've spent way too many hours of my life waiting for results.
Yep, that's the quantum, and that's the use of quantum. You don't have to wait anymore.
If you drink enough quantum, you won't have to wait for anything anymore.
Exactly.
Thanks for that, man. And something happened to me. You all know what happened. It was.
And do send me the link. I want to buy a couple of bottles.
just Google quantum liquor or quantum beer, and you'll find it very quickly.
Nice.
What I did.
Usually, physics and mathematics are to resolve problems, right? Not to give a person more problems.
Well, it's that whole comfort food thing that I was talking about with the show. This is more comfort.
There's nothing comfort about vodka.
There is a small window of comfort before the rainbow.
Before you go into a warp gate.
Well, it doesn't really matter after the fact, because you won't remember. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your liver will remember. Your liver will hate
people
you.
That don't remember. I'm sad to say I remember everything, and it just add to the shame.
Okay.
You must be almost immune to shame by now, Gio. You've had enough of it.
Even the shameless get some shame sometimes.
And that's why we have the hashtag, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Which of all of them? Because we have a library of hashtags.
Yeah, we do.
Well, it's the one about the subscribers to our YouTube channel.
Oh, the 10K ass tattoo. That one?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. If you don't know what that is, you can figure it out. So get us 10K subscribers, and let's get to that tattoo.
Just get you and like 9,999 of your friends to subscribe to our channel, and you'll find it exactly what it means.
It has to be 10,000. I'm not gonna settle for less. My ass, my rules.
His ass is worth 10,000 apparently. I don't know.
Chrissy, I'm so sorry.
It's very late for you guys in Florida and really early for him in Australia. So I think you guys are like your brains are fried.
Yeah.
Oh, my brains are always fried. That's how we work around here. Anyway, I'm going to talk about some biology because I'm a biologist. But so those who are not keyed up on biology, which is, quite a lot of people, not necessarily our listeners, but a good percentage of the population, would have heard this word pheromones mentioned in this episode. And you may not know first thing about pheromones, but they are a real thing. So what they are chemical signals released in bodily fluids, sweat, urine, spit, things like that. And it would seem like the research isn't great on humans about pheromones. It would seem that human beings' senses to pheromone chemical signals have been dulled during our evolution, and it may have something to do with the development of our higher thinking functions that have sort of then overcome pheromones, and they've become less important. So they haven't been carried on as strongly in our genomes. But for our animals and insects, pheromones are very important. Obviously, they don't talk, so having other ways to communicate things is very important. And much like in this show, our blue alien dude used pheromones to attract mates. Pheromones are used in the animal kingdom for that very purpose, and that's probably where they got the idea from for the episode. But also they're used for functions such as marking territory and interactions between a birthing animal and its offspring. And also in insect populations, they're often used for marking good sources of food, and other things where a colony would need to know information that couldn't necessarily be communicated verbally because insects can't talk. So pheromone trails in ants are very important. They follow pheromone trails to food sources. Pheromones are a thing, and they are important for many species of insect and animal to communicate important things which help them survive. So it's not just something that Seth MacFarlane made up on the fly.
I want to hope he came to the LA Zoo. I was an educator there for some time, and my very favorite example of this are the giraffe, because it's, of course, everyone wants to come see the giraffes. It's a great thing to visit at a zoo, but our gentleman giraffe was always testing ladies to see if they were in the mood, and the way they do it is to drink the lady's urine. So that was always a lot of fun to explain to visitors when they would watch him do it, and he would savor it. It was like as if you were taking like alcohol and sipping it and then playing with it on your tongue and letting it go down your throat. Exactly. And I'm like, oh, that was my favorite days.
You see, now I gotta look for a David Attenborough video explaining that.
Oh my god!
I just gotta take it up a notch.
I don't know about the giraffes. Public displays of affection. They're always necking.
Oh.
No, that's not display of affection. Ray, don't go drink in peace.
Oh wow.
PDA. If you've ever seen giraffes with their necks wrapped around each other, that's what I'm referring to.
Well, that's usually when the males are fighting, but maybe there's more to it.
Ooh, BL.
A lot of people would mistake that for affection, like the father would be teaching the male offspring to spar, and they would do that, and they're like, "Oh, look, they're hugging." I'm like, not really.
Yeah, no.
Trying to rip each other's heads off.
He's
When you
teaching them
see
how to
that
kill.
thing, it goes like a sledgehammer, man. It's scary. Giraffes are scary because the sledgehammer head bang that they give and kicking. Ooh,
Oh yeah.
that's
Yeah.
horrific to watch. I've seen lions just fall to their death on that. It's crazy.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, and I think that will be a close. I want to thank Chrissy again from Madison on the Air. If you could let our audience know again where they can find you, so we can make sure that they can also go and listen, because you should not miss Madison on the Air.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me again. So Madison on the Air, I'm on every podcast platform you can think of. I have a YouTube channel. You can follow me on YouTube as well. And you can find me on my website at madisonontheair.com. Oh, or if you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and use that QR code.
Yes, you should actually check that QR code Again, it's fun. I will tell you to do what we tell you to do with our show is go and check something that an IP that you like. I'm sure you're gonna find she covers almost anything. Whenever I want to get some cult classic good ideas for something new to watch, I just go and listen to her.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so I definitely suggest you guys to go and check her out. Also, I want to remember everybody we have a Discord, so if you want to continue the conversation, which it's more like a lovable discussion all the time, but go and check it out. It's always going on over there. We never sleep. Whenever I'm sleeping, Ray's awake. Uh, so it's always a party there. Go and check out our Discord channel. Subscribe. We also have a website, and we actually share uh, articles that we all write. Even I write some good scientific articles and things about sci-fi that we love.
Scientific-y.
Scientifically. And what is the last article? There's an article that came out this Saturday. I don't know if you guys knew.
Oh yes, yes. There's a new article that came out on Saturday. I actually gave it a quick read. It was not the one that I posted. It was the one that you made, Robert, right?
Yeah, and just for the
About
audience,
what? Quantum.
exactly. It's the title is Quantum Computers revolutionizing the solution to the three body problem using quantum computers. So go
Uh,
check
and it's always a fun read. We don't make it extremely long, so it's comfortable to read. You can do it in 5-10 minutes. For me, I'm a slow reader, but it's fun and it doesn't take much time, so there's not much of a compromise. You get to enjoy a good article that is interesting. Uh, we also have a Patreon. Every support that we receive is highly appreciated. Uh, we do this for you. We hope that you continue to enjoy it, and your support makes a whole difference for us. You can also buy us a coffee and buy me a coffee. I need my caffeine. I don't get headaches, thank God, but still, it's just like an old habit at this point, you know. And it's a good thing. It doesn't take much of a compromise, and still, it's appreciated. We also have a hotline. It's not a hotline like those that you used to see on TV after 10:30 p.m. No, but you can leave a voice message, leave us a comment, questions that you would like us to answer in the show, or just a hello that you want to say to the world and us. And we'll be happy to play it out. And the phone number is 305-563-6334. That is 305-563-6334. Thank you all for joining us. Check on our back catalog for IPs that you enjoy that we have covered in the past. And also feel free to reach out on Discord again and let us know if you would like us to cover something that we have not gone through yet. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.